Y'all thought we were done, didn't you? Welcome, everyone, to ABN's broadcast of the Miami Challenge 180 here from Homestead-Miami Speedway. I'm Christina Ryan. Alongside me tonight, once again, is Strix9 Pulsatrix, and it just felt like after the last race, we just weren't quite done yet. And lo and behold, well, we're calling the bluff. So, until further action is taken upon us and we are put into jail, we will continue to bring you the most that we can of Champ Car preseason on ABN. Strix, how you doing tonight? Yeah, it should be, and I think we might have a small issue with Discord. Go figure, it wouldn't be a stream unless something goes wrong in the first 10 seconds. It is tradition, but we're going to try and figure it out real quick, so give me just a moment. In the meantime, though, we are in for a pretty good show. Strix, you want to go ahead and say something again real quick?
Hello, hello. Hi.
Now we should have you, if you want to go ahead and re-say what you were about to say there. Sorry about that.
So what I did, okay, so to paraphrase, Homestead-Miami is where we are at. It's important in NASCAR, but we are not in NASCARs. We are in open-wheel vehicles. It'll be fun and fast. That's what I paraphrased by saying. But
I didn't know you paraphrased with an accent.
Well, I guess I do. But ultimately, to be here again for Champ Car is, as you mentioned, a little unexpected. But we will see what happens in the future. But for now, we're here to stay. Absolutely,
and it's going to be a case-by-case basis until we get yelled at by higher-ups. But for now, we're yelling at them, so we'll see what happens. Just to give you a quick little update, though, we mentioned this track has a lot of history to it, but in case you are unfamiliar with the Homestead-Miami Speedway, it's a 1.5-mile oval in Miami, Florida. It's a very hot 80 degrees. You can see the sun setting in the background, so that temperature going down all the time. It is already down to 79 degrees. It will be partly cloudy, a lot of humidity because it is Florida after all, and it is going to be a bit blustery out there. Notice the first time in a few rounds that we've had the baby wings on these cars, so this is a proper speedway race. Will it be a pack race? Not really thinking it's going to be, but stranger things have happened, and back in the days of the DW12, we've seen 3 and 4 wide racing all throughout this field. Of course, a unique racetrack in of itself with progressive banking, meaning that the outside lanes have more banking than the inside lanes. So those black lines on the track mean more than they ever did before. It's going to be a day-to-night race as well, as previously mentioned, and we're not too far off of qualifying in Strix. I got to tell you, it should be a pretty interesting race with all those things considered, because with 17 minutes to go, it's a short, condensed session here. We're going to get quickly into qualifying. You're going to have that single car run. It's not that group qualifying that we've had the last few weeks on the road courses. Oh my goodness, as we have a car rolling, it's Judith Cooper that's gone flipping down the back straightaway, and that is just what I was about to get into. It is so easy for things to go wrong, and in an instant you can find your whole world flipped upside down.
Ain't that the truth? Now, I'm gonna have to ask you for the production feed so I can witness this.
Absolutely.
I unfortunately do not own Homestead-Miami, even though it's a great track. It's just I don't own a whole lot of the oval content. That being said, though, it really goes to show that like these open wheel vehicles on ovals, especially designed like Homestead, they're going incredibly fast. They're on the often on the edge of not just grip but also human perception. It's very easy for you to just be distracted for a split second and make just one minor error, and then that minor error magnified over 200 plus miles an hour is going to be a massive incident.
Well, this is how quickly things can happen too. We're on board with Cooper here. This is a precipitation from over a half a lap. See her coming down the front straightaway. The arrow push is going to be something we're going to be watching today. It's going to be something that's going to affect a lot of these drivers, but this is how fast things happen at Homestead, and with these baby wings, you can see how much steering input she has on it already. Car hits the apron, spins in front, and then nowhere to go.
Yeah, like even if you hit the brakes there, you have a risk of locking it up, flat spotting the tires, but beyond that, also losing control yourself. So it takes a lot of, it just takes an immense amount of human perception to be able to, you know, even react accordingly. And we saw that with Judith Cooper's unfortunate wreck in practice, but we've also been seeing it around in previous seasons where one minor slip-up causes a major incident. I'm thinking back to Suzuka, where one minor incident in turn 1 led to a cacophony, like a domino effect of other incidences that lasted about 3 or 4 corners, with cars ending up with significant damage or getting the meatball flag and being unable to continue the race. And this is definitely no exception here.
Yeah, and we've seen this as well on the ovals even. We saw those big crashes at Chicagoland, of course. So you remember the instance where eventual race winner Carmen Hardy ended up on the apron and nowhere for anyone to go around her. Everybody tried to react, and we had a massive incident there. We also remember Dover was no stranger to those incidents. In fact, I was going to mention Judith Cooper. Good to see her okay and back on in the car. No injuries whatsoever there with that big flip, but she's usually the one going underneath cars. Tonight she's going over top of people. So you see her getting to grips on this track, which is honestly really difficult because of that progressive banking. It does promote some racing, as we see Emma Carter there in the pit lane, but it's going to be something to keep an eye on all day. These drivers are going to have to keep their heads on them, and they're going to have to be smart about what they do.
Yeah, as we take a look at the bright highlighter yellow of James Wright running around through turns 1 and 2. You can definitely see the aggressiveness on that banking, especially on the top side. Look how much banking there is. Now, of course, you look at somewhere like Daytona, and there is a lot more banking there, but also keep in mind, that is a super speedway. We are not at one of those. So, you know, the cars are going to have a lot of help through the corners, but as you mentioned earlier, that aero push is going to be a significant factor. James Wright, of course, in open air at the moment, racing with Stepping Stone Motorsports. But yeah, I think you're correct in your assumption that you know, aero push is going to be one of the biggest concerns that a lot of these drivers have, and it may prevent some of that pack racing we have seen before.
And you know what? That might not be a bad thing. A lot of the drivers up and down the paddock very divided about how they feel about pack racing. Of course, when we were looking like it might be in danger as to whether or not we were able to continue with these cars, doing a lot of testing with the IR01 by Dallara. A lot of people split right down the middle. Every race on ovals ended up being a bit of a pack race. Some people loved it. A lot of people hated it. And we can see here James Wright. Look at how much he's fighting that wheel already. Not necessarily in a loose condition, but that's a lot of steering angle to put into the car, especially by yourself. A lot of drivers are going to be playing with the weight jacker. A lot of drivers are going to be playing with those AR bars, but listen, you can hear him in there feathering the throttle already, having to use that highest level of banking out of turn number 4 to even get any grip out of it. This is going to encourage a lot of people to play with the weight jacker, but that right there, granted he hit the banking differential, but that is something that can happen very quickly if you're not careful on the weight jacker. People are going to be losing that rear end tonight. There's going to be a lot of people that make the right adjustments, and there's going to be a lot of people that go over the edge and find themselves in the wall.
Another thing too that you know, witnessing James Wright's incident there is that apron seems to come at you real quick, and there's not a whole lot of not a whole lot of tarmac runoff on the inside. So if you're going low for whatever reason to dodge a wreck or to get out of the way if you're slower traffic or something like that, you've got to be really careful when you're running that apron, because like I've also seen quite a few even really good drivers ending up you know, getting onto that apron a little bit sooner than they expected. But as we take a look at Angel Hernandez, I mentioned earlier about Suzuka. I mentioned earlier about Suzuka, best finished at 7th. at Suzuka. So Angel was luckily one of the drivers who avoided most of the serious issues at Suzuka. And then we're going to swap over to the 18 car of Lily Peltier-Sharp, running with the Gear Cats open wheel car from France. Currently best finished is 6th at Watkins Glen this season as well.
Yeah, and she's coming off of a good effort last night with a podium in the Hyper Formula Series, 1-2'd with her teammate Emma Kruger, who currently sits second on the leaderboard. They're still teammates here for Gear Cats as well. This is the two girls on track tonight, so she runs in 6th position right now, and looking that she could be in a really good position to try and match her previous best finish. Also worth noting that Olivia Hayward on top of the leaderboard right now, sitting in the pit lane along with Kruger. Hernandez back out on the track, and oh, that right there is an example of what that extra banking does. You saw Peltier-Sharp scoot up the racetrack, looked like she was surely going to hit the wall. That extra banking right up there on that highest lane can really save you and bail you out of some sticky situations. But yeah, Peltier-Sharp doing pretty good so far, getting up to grips with it. Here's Cooper, and I think that might be either McBride or Bren Roberts. I think it's Bren Roberts, it is, right behind Judith Cooper. And see, they've both smacked the wall, so they are struggling a bit with their machines.
Yeah, this is going to be a difficult track for these drivers to come to terms with, especially with that progressive banking, because as a result of that progressive banking, you'll also notice there's some seams, especially through the corners on the track. And if you're between seams, if you got your left tires on the inside of one seam and then your right tires on the outside of it, you can actually seriously unbalance the car because you're changing the slip angle that each tire has around the corner. I'm not sure if that's necessarily an issue in the open wheel cars, but I do know in NASCAR stock cars that if you ride on a seam rather than within the boundaries of it, it can unsettle the car very quickly. It doesn't seem like, you know, watching Peltier-Sharp run around the track right now, it doesn't seem like it's causing too much of an issue at the moment as she rides between seams multiple times. But I imagine over the course of a run, that difference will be felt as the tires run dry.
Yeah, the other thing about this is that in between each seam is that banking differential, so all of those problems amplified by about 11. James Pierce jumps up to 4th, once again on track. He's coming off of a dominant performance from the back of the field in Super Sprint in the sports cars. You heard that little bit of tire chirp there. Lily Peltier-Sharp just barely touching that apron. We mentioned how quickly that can jump out at you. But no, yeah, those seams usually a bit of a problem in of themselves, and they will be something to watch today. I think it'll be a little bit nicer considering the fact that this setup seems a little bit on the tight side by default. But if we have drivers playing with the weight jacker, it could very easily spin those cars out. But the seams are where the banking changes, so it's going to be even more of a talking point than it would be at a track like Auto Club or Kansas. Well, Kansas has the progressive banking as well on that topmost lane, so it's going to be a bit like that. Also, Kermitine in the chat asking how many pit stops do we or how do we think the strategy is going to play out tonight? I think we're going to be looking more at the, oh, we got a spinner in the back, just barely touches the wall there, and another one in the wall. And right to feed into my point, I think we're going to have more cautions than we will green flag runs tonight just because of the nature of the beast. I would love to be wrong, and we have been wrong before this season. Had some green flag runs here and there at Chicagoland, for example. But it's looking like it's going to be one of those races where it's going to be an attrition race simply because of how this dirty air is playing out and how these drivers are going to be struggling to get to grips. So it will be a pit stop heavy race if it does stay green. It's going to come down to fuel saving if we do get a green flag race, I would think, or a late race restart that gives us about, you know, 10 laps outside of that fuel window. We're not entirely sure what that fuel window is going to be, though, because we're not sure how much these drivers are going to be lifting in the pack, and there should be a fair amount of lifting going on, so it's hard to say. Strategy, though, we know Strix has played a role many times already this season. That's in fact how Constantinu picked up their first win in the series, and typically that's a road course strategy. That was the Rudd Skogan strat, but we've seen it play off dividends as well on the ovals, because that's how Lilac Zier got by Agent Judd competition their first win, by saving a lot of fuel at the end of the final stint. So it's going to be hard to say, but that's one of the beautiful things about this preseason challenge. We have seen a lot of movers and shakers, and you never really know who's going to win the race until the checkered flag flies.
Yeah, another thing to keep in mind as well, we're going to be running 180 miles here, so that's about 120 laps around Homestead-Miami. So I would imagine there's probably, at the very least, there's going to be 2 pit stops, but I think that would be pushing it on these tires, especially with how we've seen the aero push. We're probably going to be seeing quite a few pit stops throughout the run of the race, 3, probably maybe a few people going 4, depending on where the yellow flags lie. But ultimately, as you mentioned, I do believe as well that this is going to be an attrition race. We're going to see a lot of drivers, you know, making some of the slightest mistakes here. And those slight mistakes can magnify themselves on an oval like this. Because as you're going up the track, you're getting that, as we mentioned before, progressive banking. And when you're transitioning from one part of the banking to another, it can upset the car. And one little mistake could lead to a car behind getting a little bit shafted, as we take a look on board with Olivia Hayward, who happens to have a very gorgeous new helmet. Doesn't she, Christina?
Ooh woo, fingers pointing together emoji. Yeah, brand new lid for Hayward this afternoon. You can see
that one. Who made that?
I don't know, some NASCAR girl. I never really remembered her name. I don't think I quite caught it, but I do want to point out more than anything, you can hear how she's out of the throttle and shifting. Look at how far back she is from the car ahead. Now with 2 more cars coming in here, just listen as she goes into the corner. Already rolling out, way out of the throttle, feathering back on. We heard over the radio just a moment ago, Emma Kruger saying this is worse than Nashville. It's just Nashville, but wider. There's been a little bit of deliberation as to whether or not that was a bit of a dramatic statement or not, but it is so hard to follow. And, you know, I wouldn't blame her for saying that, because it looks like it's going to be pretty atrocious to follow here. It is, it's going to be interesting to see. And see, look at that there. How much everybody, do you see everybody in front also scoot up the track there? It is so hard to even keep the thing in line right now. It's going to be interesting to see how this affects the race. I wouldn't be surprised if this is going to cause more problems than good tonight.
Now, I do have a really good question for you here. Considering the way that this track is organized, you know, designed, as well as the cars, what lane do you think is going to have the most consistent success through here? I would be more partial to the outside line, just based off of tire wear, because you're seeing how much these drivers have to turn when they're going low. And here we see it. Perfect example. Emma Kruger on the high line, getting a huge run out of the corner. But then again, coming off the banking is another concern, because as soon as you start losing that banking, you're losing that help through the corner, and it could drift you up into the wall. So I feel like it's a bit risky to run the top, but it would also drop the tire wear, and then also potentially get you a run out of the corner to get a pass.
Yeah, but you see what happens to McBride. That's how bad that dirty air is. Kruger took the lane away, and that's exactly what happens. You see Doug South also back on the track. Great to see the Australian native back. He's got 1 win around Pocono, which was a much larger track than this, of course, but the rookie from Brisbane knows his way around these circuits. But no, I really think that I'm with you. I think if you have to take a shot at something... Oh my goodness, was that Pelletier sharp in the middle? I'm not sure who that was. Somebody was in the middle of the track. Might have been Hayward? I'm not sure. Somebody was on the track out of turn 4. Good heads-up driving there. But no, I think it's going to be one of those situations where the outside line's going to be the better lane if you have to choose. But what's going to be more important is you go whichever lane you can find clean air. That bottom lane's better if you have clean air than running the top lane behind somebody. The top lane's always going to be better. If Hayward runs the bottom here, you want to run the top. If Hayward goes to the top, you're going to want to run the bottom. the one risk of having that top lane is exactly what just happened to Hayward. What if that car that's running the bottom smacks the wall in front of you? Good luck trying to get out of that situation without all kinds of issues. And also, you have so much overspeed, so much run there. It's going to be really interesting to see how that works. I'm afraid, watching this just in practice, that we're not going to see many opportunities to pass, though. I think it's going to be very difficult for these drivers to find runs. It's going to be very difficult for these drivers to generate momentum. And with all of that said, I have a feeling this may really come down to strategy more than ever because of that. Because when you can't race, you try to save fuel, you try to save tires, and it's going to come down to that. Granted, we do have a little bit more lane movement than we have had at a track like Nashville, but it's also much larger of a track with much more banking. But I think that's going to be the main thing today, the big takeaway. They're going to have to be careful with that. They're going to be searching for clean air, and they're basically going to be in whatever lane the car in front of them is not in to make the most of that downforce.
By the way, a little update from my fellow Canadians and perhaps even check-ins. There's an update in the World Junior Cup score. Currently, it is Czech Republic 1, Canada 2 in the third period. I'm watching that in the corner of my eye as it's on the TV.
Yeah, I caught the highlights with my boyfriend last night, so we were watching that one. It was both the Czech round before that and Canada versus USA. It was very entertaining to watch. Yeah, what else is going to be entertaining to watch real quick is qualifying.
Qualifying, yeah, sorry, I got a little distracted here. Little national pride showing, I guess. But, yeah, we're going to get ready for qualifying as we take a look at James Pierce heading out of the pit lane. Again, we're running solo runs this time around. We're not running any group qualifying, so everybody's going to be trying their best to throw down the absolute fastest potential time that they can, just them on the track. And this is going to be ultimately coming down to smoothness on inputs. You need to be smooth on the throttle, smooth on the wheel, and basically try and make the car drive itself. Because if you're going to be fast around here with you being the only car, any little small jitters and movements on that wheel or inconsistency in that throttle pedal, that's going to cause a bit of a slowdown in speed. It's going to scrub off some of your speed.
Yeah, and you can notice they're not really going too fast, and James Pierce only opting for 1 lap here. I think it's out of the 4-lap average, so I think he's going to reset, get fresh tires, and go at it again. Meanwhile, Judith Cooper on track here, just about a 10th off of Pierce. Pierce setting down a nice starter lap, of course, was pole sitter in the not pole sitter rather, but was fastest in practice. Currently provisional pole sitter. Cooper nearly touches the wall, but it's going to get a clean lap in again. See if it's any faster. I doubt that it will be because of the way these tires have been wearing. James Pierce warped back to the pit lane. Might have seen something we didn't. Olivia Hayward looking for her first win. She's on an absolute hot streak lately. Been dominating the IndyCar on the road courses as of late, has put herself in a really good position. Got a podium last night out at Silverstone at her home track. Across the line here, we'll see what kind of lap time the 72 can throw onto the board, if any. Only enough for 6th fastest. So Emma Kruger just a skosh off of James Pierce as Pierce goes for another run. Pelletier Sharp in 3rd, so both the Gear Cats on the podium right now. Hernandez jumps up to 5th. Hardy jumps up to 10th. McBride up to 7th, so lots of shuffling around right now.
Yeah, that time seems quite slow to me as well for Olivia Hayward. Usually she's right up at the front of the pack, but 2/10 off the leader seems like uncharacteristically slow. And I say that, but like 2/10 at somewhere like Homestead-Miami, that is actually a pretty big gap. But for someone like me, just being within like a second of the drivers in this league is more than enough. As we take a look at, once again, Hayward taking another shot at the qualifying. But currently, your top 5 is Pierce, Kruger, Pelletier, Sharp, Cooper, and now Hernandez, and that's 0.14 of a second separating all 5 drivers there.
Yeah, Pierce and Kruger have completed their 4th laps, as has Elias Flores. Hayward coming across the line to complete her 4th now, so we'll see if she can jump up any higher than 11th. But it just, and she does, she jumps up to 7th, but it just shows how bad the handling seems to be, because we saw Cooper almost hit the wall. It looked like Pierce, your pole sitter right now even, was struggling a bit to keep the car about where it needed to be. Granted, might have been running that line intentionally, to try and give it a little bit more room to track, but it seems like these drivers, even in the single car runs, they're struggling a lot with the front end, and you can see Cliff Mullins sliding up the hill here and had to jump out of the gas a little bit, and that's going to cost him a bit, even though he does sit in 6th place right now, so not a bad effort for Mullins in the 37. But Doug South, as Alex Martin jumps up into 11th for Agent Inc. Racing. Doug South at the line here. He's currently sitting in 11th and finishes his run. Not able to improve on it. Can Carmen Hardy do anything more with her run? She's on her final lap. Again, she has the 1 win to her name at Chicagoland. Still driving on a broken foot, by the way, after the heroics that she had to pull off at the Roval. It's only enough for 14th, but she's not last because Mike Robinson has completed their run as well. Alex Martin jumped up now, but Bren Roberts has gone fastest in the 84 and has stolen it from Pierce and may not have much more competition, because Strix, look at how many people have 4+ laps on the ticker here. They're about done with their session, so Bren Roberts steals one from Pierce here.
Yeah, that is huge. There's only 2 people who could potentially usurp that time, and that would be Bren Roberts themselves, just topping themselves, or Zach McBride. It doesn't seem as though Zach is currently on track. James Wright is currently making their way on track, though, to see if they can take a swipe at the top spot. But Bren Roberts currently owning it with less than 1/100th of a second between Roberts and Pierce. That is a tremendously tight gap.
He has 1 career win and the closest ABN finish of all time. Doesn't mind taking one of the closest pole positions of all time, as James Wright is trying to find his way around the circuit. There he is in the number 10, the W Energy machine. Slowly but surely finding a little more confidence in these cars is what the preseason's for, of course. Has run forays in the HTL Cup Series that we run on Monday nights as well. And Ohei reporting a massive weather change between quali and practice, and the setup was also the wrong one as well. So that's a number of things that'll throw a brick into the wind. So, of course, the track got reset, and it is daytime for the qualifying. We were running practice at night, so all of those factors are going to mess with the drivers a bit. Keep in mind here, we'll pop up the weather real quick to show you that right now, 78 degrees and a 7-mile-an-hour wind. Track temp 87. We'll see what it looks like once we get into race conditions. James Wright not making any huge waves right now, but sitting nicely in the field. And it looks like the field spread's pretty nice. 3/10 between most of them, and the top 10 within about 1/10 and some change.
Yeah, we'll be seeing a fairly close race. Not as close as we have seen because of that dirty air affecting these cars so much, but certainly this could be anybody's win here at Homestead, as James Wright now pumps in the 4th lap time that they are allotted, going 0.32 behind the current leader of Bren Roberts. But going out on track now, Callie Bygent from Brighton, England, and I hear she is very short.
We'll see if she's short on gearing here as she tries to put herself up into the top 10, of course.
I was trying to figure out something witty about that, but
she's not going to be happy about that one.
I ended up coming up with, like, she's about as short as she's going to make her lap time right about now, but
she would like she would like a small number on the leaderboard here. Teammate Lilac Zier, and honestly head driver now for Bygent Judd Racing, Lilac Zier, is also joining in, so we'll see what she can do with all of her experience. Callie keeps it off the wall, but only barely. You can see all the struggling that these drivers are having with those handling issues. Bygent currently about, oh, and she's gonna spin it out. Oh, oof. Dinks it off the wall. Not what you're gonna want to have there.
Yeah, nudging the left rear tire too, so she's going to want to reset on that. Some other late joiners into the current session is Josh Grosso and Lilac Zier. Hopefully we'll be seeing them with enough time to get out on track. I do believe Lilac has just left the pits, so we have 3 other drivers, we have Callie and then 2 other drivers, rather, who have a chance to try and take that top spot.
Yeah, so Josh Grosso, I think, might be not qualified by design because that 32 machine was on track during practice, has not gone on during qualifying. So I think trying to start at the back by design, as you mentioned, McBride on track, Bajent getting the reset and trying to go at it again in the 66 machine, and Lilac Zier just now starting her run. Only a minute to go, but these are some pretty quick laps, obviously 25-second laps, so they'll all get it time to run at least one. McBride pushing a bit out of turn 4, but does a nice job to keep that thing nice and tidy. Jumps up to 4th on the final run for McBride. Going to be pretty happy with that one, I'd reckon.
Oh, yeah, I would be, certainly. That's within the top 5, a very good time. Certainly within there. Bajent getting a .46 slowest time currently. Not really a surprise because Callie couldn't quite get... doesn't quite have the run that she would want just yet, but as we are on board with Lilac Zier competing with the Bajent Judd competition car, coming out of turns 3 and now 4, going to be on the straight for the 2nd lap.
Yeah, it's not great. She bounced off the wall out of turn 4, but she knew she didn't have any time to reset, so she had to just commit. She gets a lap time on the board, but both the Bajent Judd competition cars stuck in traffic coming in here. Just happy to make the field at this point. They will round out the tail end of the grid, but it is going to be
alrighty, everybody.
Bren Roberts on pole position by 1/1000th over James Pierce. I'll tell you what, Bren Roberts is getting awfully used to these small margins of victory. So Pierce in P2, it's going to be Emma Kruger in 3rd, a little bit off, a couple hundredths off rather. McBride and Pelletier Sharp. Pelletier Sharp actually tying with Cooper, but because Pelletier Sharp ran the lap first, she gets to keep it. 5th and 6th, they'll be sharing the row together, the 3rd row together. Alex Martin and Angel Hernandez, followed by Cliff Mullins and Olivia Hayward, Eli Sasek, Elias Flores, Doug South, Carmen Hardy, James Wright, Mike Robinson, Callie Bajent, and Lilac Zier rounding out the field. 18 cars getting ready to take the grid. 19 actually, because we're going to tag Josh Grosso onto that as well, who opted not to qualify, the only driver in the field who did not. And with all that said, I think we are getting ready to go take a look with race control, peek behind the curtain, and listen to the pre-race drivers meeting. So Hoot, I will be back in just a moment.
The grass at any point, especially if you go to the right side, like if you drift out, you will get a penalty for unsafe pit entry, and we're not clearing that. So mind your P's and Q's, practice that, practice that. Pit exits off of turn 2. That one's pretty familiar with a lot of people. 19 cars, there'll be 10 rows tonight. I believe Josh Grosso is going to be in the last row by himself, I think. Yeah, he's the one that didn't set a lap time. Most of it's self-explanatory, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We'll go one at a time. Again, track is open for anyone that wants to use it. Any questions?
God, this feels like a Zoom class.
I've got a question. If I call in a fake bomb threat to the track, will we cancel the race?
No, that is against code of conduct though, so don't do that.
Just saying that, by the way, can get you banned off iRacing.
Oh, I wasn't gonna say in iRacing.
Yeah, no, we're not canceling them. Like literally, this is a big deal.
I was joking.
No, I got you. I got you. Yeah, it's gonna be if anyone that raced Nashville in the season. Here's your flashback to it. So have fun with that. It should be a lot of fun, though.
My internet's gonna go out again.
Oh, no.
I'm going to go back on lap 1 again.
I didn't race Nashville. My computer died.
I'm trying to think if there's anything I needed to point out. If no one has any questions, then I think we're good to go. iRacing cautions are on, as they are at every oval we do now. Here's a good one. If you end up tagging the wall and you're in traffic, just stay on the wall. Don't pull it to the left. A lot of people do that for some reason. Don't do it. If you're in the wall, just stay up there. Especially if you know you're not going to hold speed when you pull off the wall. Stay up there. It's a lot easier, and people will be less upset. I can't think of anything else, so unless anyone has any questions, pretty easy drivers meeting. Just make sure you practice pit entry. It looks like we're done with drivers meeting. Alrighty, good luck everybody. Let's have a fun race. Obviously at the broadcast booth. Thank you all for being here and showing everything off, and let's hopefully put on something fun.
I love this car. That we get to broadcast it.
Well, that was about the most straightforward drivers meeting I've ever heard in my entire life. I wish we could have drivers meetings like that when I'm racing. It seems like every time I'm racing, it's a 30-minute drivers meeting. There's 11 questions, and I don't remember half of what we were talking about by the time we get to the grid. So, don't tell Carmen I said that. But looking like it's a pretty straightforward one tonight. Should be a fun one indeed. We'll see what we got and try to make the most of it. So having a lot of issues with SDK tonight, so do forgive us. It is a bit of a struggle right now for our programs, but that's why you're seeing a lot of graphics kind of popping in and out and exploding right now. But speaking of exploding, they're going to be trying to protect that right front tire tonight. And Strix, we got a few minutes left before the race itself begins. Of course, still in the pre-race warm-up. What are your main takeaways from practice and quali, and what are you going to be looking at for the race tonight?
Honestly, the biggest thing is just that dirty air. That's going to be like the key factor in this race. We've seen how some drivers have been able to cut in front of a car behind and just take the wind right off the nose of the car and send it straight up the track. We could see some pretty strategic plays on the pass to try and not only get the pass done, but also to make it stick by just driving the other driver straight up into the wall with that dirty air. We could also see a lot of strategy come into play because there will be a lot of drivers who want that space to be wide open, so they aren't getting a whole lot of dirty air, taking that wind off the front of the nose. Instead, focusing their racing on the pit strategies. So you're seeing a lot of drivers practice their pit entries and pit exits. Ultimately, it's going to be a grab bag of mixed emotion, I think, is what we're going to be seeing here at Homestead-Miami.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be one that's going to test the patience of many and will reward the few who are patient enough, and that is the worst thing you want to hear if you're a race car driver, of course. You want to be able to go out and race. I think we were begging and pleading that we don't see a pack race at some of the ovals. Now we finally have one, so we're going to we're going to call the bluff of some of our field here and see how they feel with this, and I wonder who will rise to the top. Track position going to be more important than it has been all season. This is one of the first races that have not been a pack race on the oval side, so we'll see how they all manage that. It's going to be good experience for some of the rookies like Cooper, Grosso, Flores, and others. Mike Robinson puts it in 7th place on the warm-up, so starting to get to grips here. This warm-up's very helpful for the Bajent Judd competition drivers as they have a moment to actually breathe and put some laps down. Zier finding a bit more pace, and Bajent finding a lot more pace right now in the practice session.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of drivers sort of like you know, get used to the track and what it's demanding of these drivers, because this track is currently unlike anything we've seen before on this schedule. We've seen a lot of drivers, you know, in beforehand. It's just kind of, all you really have to do is let off the throttle on entry, maybe. But here, at different parts of the track, you may need to let off the throttle more. You may need to get completely off the throttle or even hit the brake in order to prevent you from going up the track too hard. So this track is going to be very demanding in a way that these drivers may not have experienced in a competitive setting here in Champ Car. And it'll be interesting to see how they cope with that. But currently we're seeing 3 cars in a little bit of a train here. Nothing too huge, but they're able to follow each other pretty nicely, and I imagine the drivers are just starting to get used to that dirty air now.
Yeah, and again, it's daytime too, so that might help things just a teeny bit as well. You see here the lane differences. You can see all 3 cars that were coming out of turn 2. They're running a slightly higher lane than the one behind them, trying to maintain. Again, they do have a weight jacker at their disposal to try and help. You can see Hayward running up a lane here, quite a few lanes up. You see South trying to find some air as well. It's going to be difficult to tell how this works. See a nice little pack here trying to make things happen. I don't imagine that that's going to stay that way for very long, though, as the field tries to figure out. A lot of cars making pit stop practice as well. That's why you see the dots going gray, or transparent rather, as they make their way in and out of the pit lane. That's going to be critical because it feels like, again, Nashville, another race that was very difficult to pass on. The caution-free race of ABN. I say the caution-free race of ABN. Granted, we've had a couple that have done that, but the caution-free oval race, I guess, is the word I should have used. See a couple cars struggling to get into that pit entry. Hold on to it. Getting in there, and a lot of cars trying to figure out the best way to get on and off the track. Only a few minutes left to go, Strix. We're getting ready for racing at Homestead-Miami Speedway. If you're just joining us, you are not too late. We're about to go racing. The second half officially underway for the ABN Champ Car Preseason Challenge. We didn't think we'd be here bringing it to you, but here we are. It's going to be a fun one to watch indeed at the 1.5 mile oval in Miami, Florida. Cloudy, partly cloudy, very humid, up in the 80s today, and the wind picking up as it has been a little duller in qualifying and practice, now a bit stronger. Progressive banking on all 3 different lanes of this track. Going to be something to keep an eye on all day long. Of course, we have the grid to show you from qualifying. It was Bren Roberts stealing pole position from James Pierce. It was Emma Kruger and Zach McBride behind them, with Lily Pelletier-Sharp and Judith Cooper for company to round out the first 3 rows. Alex Martin, Angel Hernandez, Cliff Mullins, Olivia Hayward, the top 10. Eli Sasek and Elias Flores to round out to 12th. 13th place saw Doug South alongside Carmen Hardy, 2 very experienced drivers in these cars. Don't let that rookie stamp fool you. James Wright and Mike Robinson side by side just behind. And rounding out the field of those that qualified are the Bajent Jun competition machines of Callie Bajent and Lilac Zier. Again, Zier with a win to her name. She won it on strategy on an oval in Dover. Looking to do the same thing again tonight. And then Josh Grosso, the rookie, opting not to qualify for TMG Motorsports, looking to see what they can do today. Pace car is pulling off, and Hoot, we should be in for a hell of a race today, but it's going to be one of attrition. It's going to be one of these drivers are going to have to be smart about. What is the key to tonight's event?
I honestly think the key here is going to be pure strategy. From what I've witnessed on track, it is possible to make passes happen, but it's almost like with these cars on this track that the track feels very much like a one-line track. Like there's one line, maybe 2, throughout the entire course. So it'll be really interesting to see how things pan out, at least in terms of on-track product, but strategy is going to be the key here. The drivers who have the best pit strategy, the best fuel calculations, and the best determination of when to get tires, that's ultimately going to decide the victor here, I think.
Well, we want to say real quick before we get underway, thank you very much, Sign On, for the 100 bits in chat. It's going to be 19 drivers going to be chomping at the bit tonight. Green flag in the air. Bren Roberts and James Pierce lead us down. The Miami Challenge 180 is underway, and we are off and away to start round 6. Already, we'll see how they can negotiate the field already. A lot of cars scooting up and around, and the caution flag is out. We've got a crash already, and that is unsurprising. James Wright is gone around, and I believe Doug South may have started from the pit lane, and the first caution of the day comes in turn 1.
Well, that came a little earlier than expected, I guess.
Well, it was a little earlier than expected, but honestly, it is not unwarranted. We knew that it was going to be a difficult race for these drivers today. We'll take a look and see off of the start, try and catch what happened. 3 wide already, trying to get into turn 1. Watch that highlighter yellow car on the bottom. Clips the apron, spins around, single car crash, and a hard wallop to the outside wall. Very, very unfortunate for James Wright, because that's probably day done, absolutely day done for Wright. It happened so fast, Hoot. We talked about it in the pre-race. We knew it would be something difficult for these drivers. The apron comes at you fast, trying to avoid that dirty air. What happens here?
Well, we're going to take a look on board with James Wright. Yeah, I mentioned it earlier in the broadcast. That apron comes up on you quick, and you really don't want to be touching that. That's exactly what happened with James Wright. I'm going to be honest, it's a very amateur move. You know, generally you want to avoid the apron at all costs, especially through the corner, but unfortunately James Wright not quite catching the memo there.
Having a peek through the field real quick, because we saw another car ahead getting sideways. There they are. Oh, is that Elias Flores, or is it Eli Sasek? I think that might have been the one that was sideways. I'm not quite sure who that is.
I wonder if James Wright might have seen that car going sideways and thought it was just
overreacted. Yeah. It's hard to say. I think that trying to catch eyes on who that was. Oh,
I think it was Cliff Mullins.
Yeah, it was Cliff Mullins in the 37 with a brilliant job there to avoid. Well, right on board, basically the same thing that happened, clipped that apron, but ends up getting away with it. We'll take a look here on board. 37 machine. Again, just clips that white line. Very nice bit of car control and a bit of luck to hang on to that one, so well done there. But then the caution came out and kind of was the saving grace for him.
Yeah, so 2 mistakes catching the apron, and one driver was able to save it, another not. And that's, you know, one of those expressions you hate to see it. But that being said, though, I think everybody on track would have gotten a little bit of an update on that. You know, would have figured, okay, we got some drivers who are very antsy. We'll just have to keep our cool and keep patient. And I think that is going to be the key here to winning, aside from strategy, is just patience. As a lot of drivers are popping into the pits to just top up on fuel.
Yeah, we talked about
this is gonna be a long race.
Yeah, we talked about how strategy was going to be important. Both the Agent Judd competition cars deciding we're already at the back of the field. Why not box and get some more fuel? Same thing for Doug South, who opted for a pit lane start. Worked out quite nicely for him. And he's going to have a long road ahead, as will the girls from Agent Judd, but it's a long race and a lot can happen, and that strategy may be important later on. You can never doubt that. I am a big fan of topping off if you're at the tail end of the field, because you never know. It might just fall into your hands, and you're probably not going to be passing 18 cars on the racetrack. Might as well do it in the pit lane. Bren Roberts still leads, the Pennsylvania native, who took a career win by .0001. That's 4 decimal points at Fontana. Took pole by 0.001, so a much larger margin this time around for Bren. And it is going to be crucial, because now survived that first initial start, got ahead of James Pearson, is going to have the track position, is going to be in control of the restart when we go green. Again, single file restarts in IndyCar and in Champ Car competition, so we'll see what happens here. With that, with Cliff Mullins clipping the apron, it allowed Olivia Hayward to jump up into 9th place, so that was a gained position for her. And then, of course, Carmen Hardy, Mike Robinson, Josh Grosso, Bajent, Zier, South, all gaining a position off of the start because of James Wright's retirement. Grosso's up 4 positions, though, and Robinson up 2. It's showing Doug South has lost 5 because South qualified quite well, but is technically up 1 since starting from the pit lane. So keep that one in mind as we track the progress of these drivers. It's going to be Roberts, Pierce, Kruger, McBride, and Sharp there exactly as they qualified. We didn't get much racing in. We'll see if we can go a little bit further this time around. Wouldn't hold my breath too hard, though.
And the thing is, too, is that we're doing single file race restarts here. So what we saw was double file, and what we got was double file for about not even a quarter of a lap. But right here, the strategy on start is going to be completely different. As the pace car comes off, let's see how these cars do single file.
Green flag, green flag.
Bren Roberts brought him down nice and slow. That could cause issues throughout the field with a little bit of people trying to time the restart. You see the Bajent Judd cars side by side in the background there. Now this should be theoretically a bit more tame, but look at how quickly they all try to spread out. They're all searching for clean air to work with. Roberts ahead of Pierce. Pierce gonna try and make a move. This is the time to do it. It's early in the stint. This is where opportunities are arising. Pierce on that bottom lane though. Will he be able to clear? He will. He clears Roberts, but Roberts gonna take another look down the inside, so we are gonna see just a bit of racing here, at least early on. Roberts now to the bottom on the inside of 1 and 2. Gets back around Pierce, but Pierce gonna try and go back inside. Clips the apron a little bit. Gonna have to check up, but we'll have an opportunity down the backstretch.
That was a bit of a wiggle, a very scary wiggle, but manages to keep control of it and is now taking onto the attack, getting the lead on through turn 3 and 4. But this is going to be a lot of back and forth here. A lot of cars are going to be going back and forth like this. And it makes me wonder, this is going to be eating up the tires quite a lot, but both drivers are going to have about the same fuel mileage if they're constantly in each other's draft like this. So what you gain in fuel mileage, you probably lose in tire wear doing all this battling and all this driving.
Well, you're battling though. I didn't expect that we would even see this. This is not something we saw at Nashville, but because you can run multiple lanes here, it at least gives us a little bit of battling going on. Emma Kruger not able to get close enough at the moment. I'm sure she's frustrated about that, but she may actually be opting to save a bit as these two race the wheels off of each other. But it is giving us an opportunity for some interesting racing. They've been swapping the lead back and forth, and you'll notice, watch Bren here. He starts cutting down now. He anticipates the crossover. He knows what's coming, and you'll watch Pierce do the same thing through 1 and 2. Watch how early they start turning back down. They get that late apex, and it allows them to have a really good opportunity to go after it here down the back straightaway. Watch here. Look, already cutting down the track out of turn 2.
Very smart move from both drivers to be doing that, late apexing turn 2 and 4 like that, because when you're coming off of these corners, when the banking starts dropping off, the cars are going to get a lot tighter. So you kind of want to slow up just a little bit through turn 2 and turn 4 in order to be able to get that car rotated and be able to get back up near the wall on the time that you've actually exited the corner as we ride on the nose of James Pierce, heading down on the inside. We're going to take a good look at the gearbox now just behind us, and we're going to be drifting up just a little bit as James Pierce takes a look downwards. And once again, we're going to see this passing back and forth here, and we're seeing that gap between them and Emma Kruger extend a little bit.
Yeah, a little interesting to see that, of course. Olivia Hayward up to 6th position, up 4 spots from where she started as well. She's not taking no for an answer tonight either. Carmen Hardy also up 4 spots. Grosso up 6. Robinson up 4. A lot of shuffling around in the mid-pack, the back-pack here. Looks like Pierce is going to have some more battling. I love these camera angles because you can really see what the driver is going through. All these bumps shaking them around, and you can also see both sides. Watch on that left-hand side here. Pierce going to pull down to the inside again, I'd assume. And then we'll watch Bren Roberts on the left-hand side get a little bit smaller in the mirror. Come out of turn number 4. Disappears for a moment. Now look at the right-hand side. You're going to see Bren Roberts pop back into frame here out of the corner. And there goes the number 84 once again. They're just swapping it back and forth right now. Emma Kruger just kind of letting it happen out in front. And you know, it can't be understated enough how difficult this is. Look at this little gaggle here as they all try to get to grips. That is Carmen Hardy right in the thick of it, with Cliff Mullins, Mike Robinson. Just ahead is Sasek and Martin. You can see how close they're getting. They're making it work, which is really surprising. And you can see that just ahead of that is Judith Cooper, who's doing a nice job still maintaining position quite nicely. Olivia Hayward up to 6th, as we mentioned. So the Prismatic cars going 6th, 7th. The Bajent Judd cars 16th and 18th right now, riding in the back, trying to run that strategy game. But Hood, I don't know about you. I'm a little surprised that we're seeing them this close together right now.
Yeah, we've been seeing during practice and qualifying a lot of drivers struggling to keep the car on track, but now that I think about it, I think they're just pushing really hard. Given that this is the beginning of the race, we're only down on lap 16 of 120. I think a lot of drivers have decided to be patient here, and that's a very key virtue of being a good race driver. It's just pure patience. 9 times out of 9, in my own experience, if you end up in a wreck, being a little more patient would have solved that. So we're seeing a lot of this battling happen throughout the pack now, as Carmen Hardy is now on the inside of Alex Martin, not quite getting the run through the corner. There it is, getting through the exit of the corner. But on that outside lane, having that momentum swing through, Alex Martin getting a little bit ahead down the straightaway, but Carmen Hardy might have made the pass by now.
Yeah, I think they're struggling here because, again, they have the dirty air in front of one another. So Carmen has completed the pass, but Cooper just a little bit ahead of this. She's in the catbird seat. She has that clean air. You'll notice now she's actually caught up to the back of Eli Sasek a bit. So Sasek does lead this group. Cooper doing a nice job maintaining that dirty air. That's something that Cooper struggled a lot with early in her career with these cars. It's good to, this is really one of those deals where it tests you and it lets you really learn very quickly. It's baptism by fire with how aggressive it is, but they're doing quite nicely. I am pleasantly surprised to see that we have so much side-by-side racing, even if it is due to some strategy plays right now. But we can see how close, look at how close Cliff Mullins is right there behind Alex Martin. The 11 machine pulls out, or excuse me, Mike Robinson and Cliff Mullins side-by-side. And you see Josh Grosso right behind this. A lot of the fresh meat in this series. Meanwhile, up at the front, Roberts and Pierce, as you notice by the dots on that mini-map, still swapping positions all the time. So the battle raging on between Pierce and Roberts up front, and it's raging in the back of the field as well. As you can see, oh, that might be a bit of a... That's a good bit of driving there from the rookie Josh Grosso. Had a car right in front, pushing up the hill, did a nice job to maintain line. That's going to be so important. That is one of the most valuable skills you can have as an IndyCar driver. It is so easy to get undisciplined, let it roll up the hill and boink the car on your outside. They've done a very, very nice job indeed. And I think James Pierce may have cleared well and truly on Bren Roberts for a moment now, because there's a little bit of separation between those two. So it looks like it might settle down with Pierce, Roberts, Kruger, McBride, and Sharp, the top 5.
And this could have been a conscious decision from Bren Roberts as well, considering the fact that, like I was saying, when they're both battling each other, they're eating a lot of tire, but they're also saving the same amount as each other on fuel mileage. But Bren Roberts sitting behind James Pierce means that Bren Roberts can save a lot more on fuel than the lead driver. Meanwhile, Emma Kruger doesn't exactly have enough help to really get all of that advantage from reducing the drag to get that fuel mileage, but is also going to be feeling that turbulent air coming off the cars in front. So not really an ideal situation for Emma Kruger as we ride on board with the Champ Car winner at Fontana, Bren Roberts.
Yeah, Bren put up a really good battle so far, but may have used up some of his stuff. But that's where things could start to come back into play a little bit for Kruger, who I think might have just hit the wall. Kruger into the wall, an issue for the Road Course Trophy winner. I'm not sure if she had to get way out of it to avoid hitting the wall, or if she has, in fact, smacked the wall there out of turn 4. I'll quickly see if we can't have a look back there.
I'm not sure if that really registered as an incident, so it may have been just getting off the throttle to try and...
Oh, she's gone round. She's gone round to the number 70. So the exact opposite, actually.
Whoa.
I don't think she's even quite clipped the apron. She just gets on that seam. We talked about it with the weight jacker. So she's actually done an incredible job to save that race car. Brilliant bit of driving there by the young hot shoe. But yeah, just a little too much there. Maybe a little too much on the weight jacker. On board here, let's listen. Let's listen and look. Oh yeah, right rear on the seam. Maybe a little too much on the weight jacker. So easy to overcorrect there. I was thinking I didn't see any damage on that car. She's done an incredible job, but she is struggling because I think she's just gone round again.
Yeah, those tires are probably pretty crispy at this point, and taking a look back.
She's done it again.
Went straight around. Same problem.
Yeah.
Just getting on that seam.
Oh, she's gone over. Oh my goodness. She's gone for a bit of a ride through the paint there, but she's kept it off the wall again.
Okay, I gotta say, currently, we are at a champ car event. What we have seen so far is 3 different disciplines. We've seen open wheel racing, we have seen drifting, and now we see stadium trucks just ramp off the inside.
And
oh my
more
Lord.
bad news here, because I believe Judith Cooper has likewise gone for a ride, and I don't think she was so lucky. Looks like she might be done for the day. We were just talking about how good she was doing. I'm not sure what's happened there, actually. I wonder if she's had an issue with that car. Something must have happened.
Issue.
Could be an equipment issue, could be a real-life emergency. So she's done a nice job to not hit anything, but it showed up as a crash, and she has jumped to the pit lane. So I think her day may be done, unfortunately. So hoping everything with Cooper is okay. A little uncharacteristic to see a driver jump out just like that, but hoping everything's a-okay. Yeah. She was doing quite nicely indeed. She was up in the top 10, flirting with the top 5 up until then. So unfortunate, but...
and unfortunately as well, she has been dealing with recent medical issues.
Yes.
And it's really unfortunate to see this kind of thing happening, because that's all I'm really thinking is I just hope it's not a serious medical emergency and something else popped up instead.
Oh, caution, we got a car around. That is Pelletier Sharp in the middle of the track. Is everybody going to miss her? It looks like they will. Second caution of the day comes out. Okay. That is a good bit of driving by the rest of the field. Oh, she's nearly come right up in front of her teammate there. That's going to actually bail out Kruger, who has stayed on the lead lap despite those issues. Very, very, very scary moment there for Pelletier Sharp, and we'll see what happened here to bring out the second caution of the day. I wonder if this is another weight jacker issue. Yeah, it looks like it just loses the rear. Not as lucky as her Gearcats teammate smacks the outside wall. I'm not sure how much suspension damage there is, if any. She might have just gotten away with that and might be able to get a wing change and get back in the game here, but that's a massive loss of track position. Now, this was a-okay, but then, oh my goodness.
Boy. Sheesh. Yeah. Very easy for you to forget that there's other cars on track, especially when you see most of the pack driving by and you think you might have time.
Especially when it's your boss, your team owner.
But yeah, hoping that Pelletier Sharp is able to get that repaired. But look at the steering input. Look at how much, just the gradual increase of it, hoping that it comes back, constantly seesawing on that wheel, thinking the car would come back, and it just never does.
Yeah, not quite as lucky.
Never quite gets settled. And we did see that with Emma Kruger getting that car sideways, but being able to use much smoother inputs to try and get that car coaxed back straight.
I tell you what, the wheels look straight on that thing. If she doesn't have any engine damage or suspension damage, because that was quite a wallop to the safer barrier, if the engine is okay and everything's good on that car, she may be a-okay. A lot of people doing gas and goes here, it looks like, as well. Ooh. Very quick pit stops up and down the field. Ooh. There goes Hayward out of the pits.
Ooh. Quick
Carmen
update.
As well. Yeah, update.
Canada has won the World Junior Gold Medal.
Well, there you go. Congratulations to those. Sorry for anybody who might not have seen that yet, but yeah.
Yeah, for those who don't care, I apologize. I have a little bit of national pride about it. Hockey is not even our national sport. It's curling, but I care a lot about hockey. But anyways, speaking of throwing the body and running on ice, we've seen quite a few drivers appear like they're running on ice here at Homestead, but currently, as things stand, we've got Elias Flores in first place.
I think he might have missed the pit lane, actually, because now he's into the pits now. I think he might have missed it first time around. So that'll give it to...
That's an unfortunate issue.
Well, yeah, well, it's okay because he wasn't super far up the field. It's going to be unfortunate, but it's not like pitting from the lead, basically, and having that mistake. So plenty of time to make up for it as well. We have plenty of laps left in this thing. Big winners so far. It's going to give Pierce the lead back, and Brian Roberts is going to have another opportunity to go at it. McBride is up into third position as well. Now, Hardy up 10 spots with that from where she started, now sitting in fourth position. Eli Sasek, Olivia Hayward, Mike Robinson, Alex Martin, Cliff Mullins, Grosso South, Zier Bajent, who are now up quite a few positions. Hernandez, Flores, Kruger, Pelletier Sharp still in the pit lane, and Cooper and Wright. Cooper is back on the track, if I'm not mistaken. No, I don't think she is. I think she is officially off the track. And I was talking with her today. She felt very good for what it's worth. So hoping that she is still hanging in there. And hearing stomach felt weird, needed to retire. So not so much an emergency, so much a precaution. So it's and that's smart, you know, rather to get in there and get out while you still are okay, rather than push the issue. We're just playing video games at the end of the day, really setting our wishes to her. She was doing a phenomenal job. So this is a track she's never driven on, conditions that she has struggled with in the past with the tight conditions of these cars. Wishing her the best, hoping she feels better, and a big shout out to her because that was a phenomenal run for the number 4 car today. One to be proud of for sure.
Yeah, and that is a virtue that is very difficult to learn as a competitor. You always want to compete, you always want to drive, and you always want to race, especially as a race driver. You just want to race. You want to be you want to be in there in the field, but you know, our bodies are not, unfortunately, robotically augmented so that we could just do things in perpetuity.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet, but certainly we are merely mortal flesh shells. So very good virtue to learn is to learn your body's limits, because even in sim racing, you know, you can strain nerves and muscles and parts of your body that you don't think you usually would in a sim race. But wishing the best for Judith Cooper as we take a look at Lily Peltier-Sharp, who seems to be back out on track. So it does seem like it was just some damage to the nose of the car, and hopefully no suspension damage or any other issues. Although if there is any, they probably might pop out with Peltier having to take another pit stop as we get ready to go green flag racing.
Yeah, Pierce, Roberts, and McBride lead us down into the restart zone. A little bit of checkup back behind them. We'll see if everybody can negotiate that cleanly. It looks like everybody's being nice and tidy. Very nice job, boys and girls. Let's see if we can get through turn 1 again cleanly and safely. And we'll see if there's any challenge from Bren Roberts. I'm sure he's hungry. He lost an opportunity to take the lead early on. They fought back and forth quite a bit. Carmen Hardy in this group, hungry as well, and right now it's going to be Bren Roberts ahead of Pierce, who slides up the hill a bit. McBride going to get ahead of Carmen Hardy, and it looks like we might have a 4-horse race.
Caution.
Oh, caution out in the back. Oh, that's one of the Bajaj Jug cars around. That was Zier, who I think might get away with that. I don't see any immediate damage on that car. Josh Grosso was also in it. Doug South is in the wall. I think he might have got the worst of that one. But it looks like everybody else is rolling. I think it's just South that went around. So we'll see what's happened there.
From the looks of things, it might have been Doug South just whipping around and everybody avoiding around them.
No, it wasn't. I'm afraid it wasn't. I think it might have started actually up with Josh Grosso. Oh, yeah, got contacted there. Oh, my goodness. ESDA Pro license, anybody? Bounces it off the wall.
Tap.
Wow. Holds on to it here. Now, this is where... I think that's where South... Oh, South got net-coated.
You gotta be kidding.
And a little bit of a contact there from Lilac Zier, who I think might just be nose to nose. Yeah, I think they're gonna get away with that. I think everybody gets away with that except for Doug South, unfortunately, the Australian. The ping a bit higher, and that is so unfortunate for Doug because they all had this missed. This was problem solved. And not meant to be. Look at this here. This is incredible. You don't. That's wrecked. You're wrecked.
Shades of Frederick Osbo.
Yeah.
As Diesel says in the chat. But yeah, that's just really unfortunate. You hate to see netcode issues pop up, but in these cars going as fast as they're going, that latency is going to pop up a lot of times here. Man.
That was a brilliant bit of driving from everybody, though. Look on board here. Watch this happen up front. Just a little bit of contact, wall tap. Zier already off the gas. Not really anywhere she can go. I wonder, I think she might be okay. Does a good job not making that problem, a bad problem, worse, but
that's the problem with netcode as well, is because Lilac Zier was looking at how Josh Grosso was handling that car and knew in any other circumstance that car is saved, nothing else needs to be done.
Yeah,
but, that's seeing the gap between those cars and all of a sudden one of those cars go around, you know, I don't know, like that. Lilac Zier did everything he possibly could have in that situation, and unfortunately didn't pay out because internet.
And unfortunately for Doug South, literally did everything right as well. And then watch how much distance there is here. I mean, there's a whole car length between them.
Unreal.
And it's so unfortunate.
That's like 2 tire wets.
Now, looking at that replay, it is fair to say I think Grosso was going to spin that car anyways, looking at the steering inputs. So I think it, might have happened anyways. Look at that was Kruger, and I think who's that ahead there? That looks like one of the, I think that might have been Flores. It is Flores for the Ascent Racing team, doing a great job to avoid that one. But yeah, super unfortunate. Doug South getting the worst of that. Grosso with a fair bit of damage, but it looks like Zier is still rolling, so the damage on that car looking like it was mostly just wing only, if anything. Super, super, super unfortunate, though, for Doug South. But I'll tell you what, Bren Roberts now back on the point. It looked for a moment like McBride and Hardy were trying to join the party there, and as we speak that, it looks like we got a little bit of time left. Why don't we speak to our in-race reporter, Carmen Hardy? Carmen, this is Christina in the ABN booth. Do you have a copy?
Yep, gotcha.
Well, it's been an interesting start. We're having a little bit more racing than I think we expected to have on this package. Looked like everybody was a bit racier on the restart there too, as they all get their weight jackers figured out and whatnot. First of all, you're up 10 positions right now, the most of anybody. You're tied with Mike Robinson, who's a couple positions behind you. Interesting little strategy there. You want to walk us through what you ended up doing in the pit lane last time through?
Yeah, it was just really straightforward. Just fill it up in tires. It's all about really saving them, saving the tires when you got them, trying to keep the car really anchored. We saw what James and Bren were doing. They were kind of just swapping back and forth and trying to get a tow. So my biggest objective is to get around McBride in front of me, because if I can do that, then I can play with the clean air that they leave up top to keep kind of with them. But can't do that when there's another car between us that isn't on the same wavelength. So that's the big thing. Get up to third and then try to hang with them up at least for another pit cycle.
Well, we saw also an interesting thing. We saw a lot of people using the weight jacker. It's almost mandatory here. Just trying to try and get this through real quick because I know we're 1 to green. But we saw the Gear Cats cars go around as a result of that weight jacker. How aggressive have you all been with that today, and how has it been managing that right rear tire?
Emma didn't use the weight jacker at all. It just that's how much the right rear is wearing. Everyone's gonna have to kind of play with the negative side of that. Some people know that, some people don't, but negative weight jacker is going to help save people in the long run.
All right, Carmen, well, thanks for talking to us. We'll get back to you later on. Have a good restart.
Thank you. Have fun.
Appreciate her giving us a little bit of her time as we get ready to go back to green flag racing. It's once again going to be Bren Roberts out front. Roberts and Pierce have led all laps so far today. We'll see who comes out on top on this particular occasion. Green flag back out, and we're underway at 40 laps in. Bless you, Strix.
Oh, I thought I'd done it quietly enough. Whoops.
It was very quiet. It was quite cute, but it was still on stream, so congratulations.
Don't you dare talk to me like that on stream, I swear on God.
I'm sure anybody who heard it would agree as we see a move for the lead. Pierce and Roberts wasting no time to get back at it.
Lap 41 headed to lap 42 of 120 here at Homestead-Miami. We've been a few cautions here. Not a very significant length of time for our green flag races, but we've seen that it is possible, just these minor mistakes. So hopefully we get another long green flag race here as Zach McBride currently riding in third with Bren Roberts and James Pierce up ahead. James Pierce currently in the lead, but you can see all those steering inputs on the car right there in that Missouri home car running through the corners. Not a whole lot of steering input, actually. Doing fairly well in the draft.
Yeah, McBride doing very nice indeed. Just trying to mind P's and Q's. We heard Carmen talking about trying to survive up there for the pit cycle. It's lost a couple spots now, down to 6th. Things starting to get a little calmed down between everybody behind the leaders, but the leaders once again going at it with that clean air opportunity. They can just infinitely cross each other over. Quickly want to note, thank you Okiai for the follow. I hope you're enjoying tonight's broadcast on ABN. You can see Eli Sasek waiting in the wings in the background there with Robinson. Hardy falls down another position. She's trying to hang in there on those tires.
Another driver currently fighting for position as well is Alex Martin and Callie Bygent. Callie is currently up 9 positions from qualifying. currently the car ahead of Alex Martin that we're focused on right now. Kelly's been actually doing very well, getting used to these cars and having a fantastic outing so far during the race. But another driver that we really haven't spoken much about, who is currently the top gainer here, Mike Robinson, 11 positions up, qualified 16th, now 5th, well within the top 5, and the nearest driver behind is still a significant distance, at least in accordance with Speedway times.
Yeah, and still a great opportunity here. Previous best finish 10th in the Open Medicine Foundation 500 at Michigan. Doing very nicely indeed right now. P5, as you mentioned, up 11 positions, up higher than anybody else right now. The closest is Eli Sasek and Callie Bajent, who's up 9 positions on the field. So doing very nicely indeed for someone who doesn't have very many starts in this car. I think this is the first start in the preseason challenge, previous start being at Michigan. So the Agent Inc. Racing brigade really starting to put up those results. It was a bit of a slow start for a lot of these drivers, but starting to come out swinging here in the later stages of the preseason. Going to be a pretty big threat headed into the regular season for 2023.
Absolutely, and that's something we're going to be very excited about, especially if this racing up ahead is what we can expect from Bren and James. The 84 car and the 23 car has been basically the entire story throughout the first quarter of this race, constantly battling as soon as the flag goes green, making a lot of passes on the inside and outside. And there is one thing that I did note previously in the last green flag run we had. At a certain point, Bren Roberts just kind of sat back behind James Pierce, and perhaps that was sort of an information gathering kind of expedition from Bren Roberts to try and figure out how much tire and how much fuel usage you're going to be making by just sitting back in the draft. And gauging by how Bren Roberts has been racing so far, it doesn't seem very beneficial to just sit back and watch.
Yeah, well, I will say I don't think it was by design. I think these boys raced real hard on the opening stint. I think James Pierce saved a little bit more tire in the long run. I think we know how lethally fast Pierce is in anything he climbs into. Those Twisted Motorsports guys always quick. The whole team, in fact, usually a bit more of a foray on the road course side of things, but no slouch on ovals either. I think probably just had the upper hand on that one, got the lead once the tires started to wear a bit. Roberts couldn't get alongside, and that was kind of all she wrote. So I think Roberts still learned a lot, got a lot of data. It just wasn't so much by design, just learned, okay, maybe I went through too much of my tires. Maybe this is what happened here. This is what I need to do different. What I'm interested to see is if Roberts can prolong that battle, or better yet, can actually win this battle, and see if once those tires start to wear away, if Roberts can be on top of the point instead of Pierce this time. However, it's going to be a hard challenge because Pierce is one of the smarter drivers on the grid. Doesn't matter right now, though. They are walking away from the rest of the field as they go at it, these two, as we're nearing the halfway point.
Halfway point. Getting very close here at Homestead-Miami in the open wheel cars here on the oval circuit. We've seen a lot of cars get very sideways for a lot of different reasons. Seen some cars touch the apron. We've seen some cars cross the seam. And, you know, I've watched Ghostbusters. You don't want to cross the seams, so you got to be careful with that. But we've also been seeing in the back of the pack, as we're taking a look at Eli Sasek there, some of the cars are getting very, very low on track, much lower than James Pierce and Bren Roberts have been doing. And I think it's safe to say that some of these drivers back here have already recognized that James Pierce and Bren Roberts are kind of on another level at the moment. They're always going to be fighting really hard for position up at the front. So a lot of drivers are trying to experiment with different lines, trying to see where the speed is to try and either wake up the momentum to get towards the two leading cars, or perhaps just kind of riding it along, just waiting for their opportunity to get by on strategy.
Yeah, I think strategy is probably the bigger play here. You're not going to have a whole lot of luck. We already saw on that early restart, both Carmen Hardy and McBride tried to stick with these boys on the restart. Weren't quite able to do it there as James Pierce getting nice and close to that safer barrier. And we saw it early in the race as well with Emma Kruger not really able to follow those two cars because the lanes were taken up, and the middle lane just doesn't seem to be as viable as the full inside or full bottom lane. As we see the closest group now, there's a couple of two-car breakaways, but it's this little gaggle behind Olivia Hayward. I'm not sure if this is the strategy gaggle or not, but they're all kind of riding around back here. Nice distances apart from each other. They're about a quarter of a lap, almost a half a lap down, and just kind of riding around. So I think that this is more of a strategy play because we have a lot of really good players up here. You got Sharp, Kruger, Hayward, a lot of drivers we wouldn't expect to be this deep down the field, especially, of course, we know Kruger and Sharp had their own issues, but Hayward being back there is a bit of a shock to me. We're looking at Cliff Mullins, who's had a few moments as well, making the most of that, and trying to make strategy come back into their hands. So maybe we are on the cusp of that. Maybe we're on the periphery of some fuel windows that maybe these guys and gals see something that we don't up in the booth, but that's the beauty of it. We'll see how it plays out for them. Could just be also a situation of not having the pace right now either, but Lilac Zier on the move right now, trying to make something happen with Alex Martin just inside the top 10. You've got Callie Bajan up there who's on her own. The Bajan Judd cars slowly but surely making their way up through the field.
Yeah, we've been seeing that Callie and Lilac seem to be the kind of, I don't know if this is the right way that you would say it, but late bloomers in the race. They don't tend to do exceptionally well in qualifying, don't tend to impress in practice, but as soon as it gets down to the race, it seems like they're capable of saving tire quite a lot. You find that a lot of drivers on track will tend to overdrive the fronts on them and start understeering a lot, but you don't really see that all that often with Lilac or Callie. Some would say that they're just underdriving them, but maybe. But we've seen this too often where Lilac kind of qualifies low, but then starts gaining a lot of positions throughout the race, where it stops being a happy accident and starts being more of a strategic determination. And
well, it
like
doesn't
seeing
hurt.
it once again, we're seeing those results once again currently at lap 61. I don't know, the screen got blurry on me. 62. There it is. Thank you, Discord, for your bit compression. Love it. But yeah, like I was saying, Lilac Zier tends to do way better in the race and actual racing conditions than she does during qualifying and practice. And
well, it doesn't hurt to remember that both of these girls unloaded off the truck with a minute left in qualifying, so their warm-up was effectively their practice, and they spent the whole first two stints of this race just trying to get to grips with the handling and trying to ease their way into it. Of course, Zier had that incident earlier where she was caught up in the incident with Doug South, but that car seemed to be a-okay. It was actually not Doug South that she hit, it was Grosso that she hit, but was caught up in that earlier, seems to be doing all right. But no, it's such an interesting pairing because you have the wise old head of Lilac Zier, who, as you said, will slowly creep her way up, a bit of a closer, always thinking strategy, always thinking how can I outrace these people by the pit lane or by the book, you know, accepts that she may not be always the fastest outright on pace and takes good advantage of that and is one of those dark horse drivers, a perennial threat to the top 5, occasionally can get herself onto the podium or in victory lane with some incredible calls that we don't really see from other drivers, paired up with someone like Callie Bajan, who is a wily young driver who is just eager to make 3 wide passes, 4 wide passes, trying to get reined in a little bit by her leader of the team. Of course, it's Bajan Judd competition, so it's Callie's team, but it's Zier who has shown the way so far, and Callie has run a few less races as well, so she's just getting seat time right now, learning from her older sister. While this goes on in the background for those two girls, these two boys up front going tooth and nail, as we've seen for most of the race. Big slide jobs. It's really, this is exciting because if we get a late race restart, this is how this race is going to be decided. It's going to be a battle for the ages between these two gladiators. They have not given it up once today. They're still fighting just as hard as they did from the drop of the green flag, and there's only one little section where James Pierce started to move away in the later stage of that first stint. And meanwhile, Eli Sasek and Zach McBride going at it a bit still as well. They haven't quite put that one to rest. They're not quite as close, not able to make the big moves they'd like to make, but they haven't quite given it up yet. Mentioned Mike Robinson up 11 spaces, still up 11, sitting in 5th right now, and Carmen Hardy's found her way back up into 6th.
Now, Chrissy, I do believe we have something to do here. I know
Very correct.
Judith Cooper in
at the very start
some time ago. At the very start.
It was at the gridding.
Yeah, at the gridding, asking for a crank it up. Shall we?
Yes, of course. I think it's a great time to crank it up. Kick back, relax, and enjoy, everybody. You're watching the Miami Challenge 180 on ABN. There's a great battle for the lead and battles up and down the field. We'll shut up for a minute and we'll let you crank it up. So green flag pit stops unfolding here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. We saw some of those drivers that were hanging back a bit earlier. Lilac, Zier, Hayward, Kruger, Sharp, Flores. Yeah, strategy call as we suspected. They are now out front with some extra speed. Pierce and Roberts still going at it, but now for 6th position. It will be the lead once everybody cycles out, but what I'm interested about here, Strix, is we noticed Zier, Hayward, and all those cars that were hanging back, not just staying out by another lap or two, we're running about the 3rd or 4th lap, and they're still out front. So this is some pretty big strategy plays, and with the green flag pit stops for the first time today, a lot unfolding right now.
Yeah, there's a lot unfolding, and as I mentioned earlier, when we were talking about Lilac Zier, 1 career champ car win at Dover, and Dover was an exceptional strategic performance. That was one of those races that ended up coming down to fuel mileage, and Lilac Zier just ended up being in the right place at the right time while all the leaders dropped off by just running out of fuel, just flat out running out of fuel. And there is a potential. We are seeing potential here that this could be a very successful night for Lilac Zier if she is staying on top of this fuel mileage race. And if she does, according to the ticker, that would be a 17 position gain from qualifying to finish if he's able to finish in this position. So that would be a tremendous favorite for, like, basically, there's an award for that. I can't remember
biggest
what it's
mover.
called.
The
biggest
biggest
mover.
mover.
That's the word. Thank you.
Elias Flores jumps into the pit lane as we see Peltier Sharp battling with the lapped car at the moment, actually, on fresh tires. That is Josh Grosso unlapping themselves on Peltier Sharp anyway, still a lap down, so that's what the fresh tires difference is. It looks like Zier's coming to the pit lane now, so this hands the lead off to Hayward, but that's what I wanted to mention. Look at Kruger and Sharp on this strategy. They were at the back, they had issues. Kruger, of course, was in third, spun twice, saved it, kept it off the wall. Sharp bringing out one of the cautions today with a nose into the wall out of turn 4. They're right back in the thick of this thing. They are second and third respectively, so the Gear Cats cars, actually they run about 4th or 5th in the whole cycle here, but even further, they're staying out another lap. So Hayward, Kruger, Sharp on the extreme fuel save strategy at the moment. They're going to be quite a ways behind once everything cycles out, because Bren Roberts and James Pierce about to come back. They're about a half a lap behind. We'll actually pull up the track map one more time here and show you. Looking for, see the 2 car, the 3 car. Look at that 4 and 5 on the front straightaway. That is Pierce and Roberts battling. So here comes Kruger and Hayward into the pit lane. They will relinquish the lead. It looks like, judging by the slowing number 3, that Kruger or Peltier Sharp's in as well. They just about get away with that. We'll see how this goes down the front stretch. You see Peltier Sharp in the background, and now looking to find where James Pierce is. There he is, battling with Roberts, so they take the lead back now. But they pit such a long time ago. They go back to the lead. Their last pit lap was 72. We got 74, 79, 78. Obviously, the top 3 just a moment ago pushing it to lap 82. That's a significant difference. That's 10 extra laps of fuel saving. That's not just a few. That is going to be a significant difference coming to the end of this race.
And that could be hugely beneficial for those drivers who waited, because having that extra 10 laps could mean the difference between winning or losing. Because running as it stands right now, it's a little less than 40 laps to the finish, and it's 1.5 miles per lap. So the drivers who've been who've pitted at lap 82, probably, if they're really careful, could make it to the end of this race. Drivers who pitted around 72, 74, it's pretty well a guarantee that they're going to have to pit at least one more time. It'll be interesting to see how things pan out at the moment, because I'm not quite sure if, you know, a little under 40 laps, around 35 laps or so, it is a tank that you can stretch. But
well, here's the other thing that we have to keep in mind here is Pierce and Roberts' battle. They now are catching the tail end of this field, so it's very well committed to these strategies. Peltier Sharp going a lap down right now on James Pierce. And Pierce has, granted, about a straightaway to go to catch up to 14th, 13th, and start lapping Flores, Mullins, Kruger, etc. But this is the difference of the strategies. Do you go all out? Do you push as hard as you can? Or do you save, take it easy, and try and skunk everybody on strategy? It's going to be hard to say. And of course, Pierce and Roberts at the end, if they do have to make an extra pit stop, they could just take a little extra fuel. The tires don't take very long, so it's not like they're going to be stopped and stationary for a long time. It's going to be interesting to see how that works for these drivers. And Peltier Sharp, of course, known for not being the best back marker in the world, not giving too much to Bren Roberts here either, so costing Roberts a bit in the fight with Pierce. So this is not only going to affect their own race as they battle with Pierce to try to stay ahead of him in the strategy game, but it's also going to affect the battle between Roberts, as they are on the same strategy but having to work through traffic, and it looks like Pierce has the upper hand.
Coming out of turn 2, there is James Pierce and Bren Roberts. This entire race, they have been battling it out. Slugfest, an absolute slugfest for each other. As we take a look further back, Elias Flores.
Yeah, this is just ahead.
Car.
of race leaders. So that is those 2 dots in the background. That is Pierce and I believe McBride, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I think that is McBride. So a lapped car and the leader. So now the next car up for James Pierce to try and lap is Elias Flores. But the other thing to note here, yeah, they're still driving slow, but Pierce is going to be running out of tires sooner than these drivers. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, we could see not only just the drivers who pitted later not having to lift as much, not having to worry as much about fuel mileage, but also, as you mentioned, that tire wear. That's going to become a critical factor because I think the reason why drivers like Hayward or Kruger or Alex Martin are so far behind, about 20 seconds or more behind, is primarily because of just how worn those tires were staying out for that long.
Well, I think
it isn't just a fuel mileage issue, but also a tire wear issue.
It absolutely plays a factor, but I think that they save 10 plus laps of fuel. That is not just lifting and coasting. That is not just one mix down. That's not just riding around in the draft. That is extreme fuel save measures. So I think the majority of it is still going to be the fuel saving, and I think what backs that up is that we see Elias Flores here, who just boxed and has fresher tires than Pierce, being lapped by Pierce, and same thing up here now as Cliff Mullins goes a lap down. These are guys that were on fresher tires. They have pit 10 laps later than James Pierce. I think they have the engines turned down because they are not just trying to save 10 laps of fuel. They need to save 20 or so. They need to save all the way to the end to cut out a whole pit stop, which is doable, but you sacrifice that whole lap, and that's the gamble that they're all taking. They're saying, look, we don't have track position. We're not going to pass the whole field and get up there and have a shot to win. Why not do this? This is the strategy that I want to play. And if you're, if you're Olivia Hayward, you're out front right now, Alex Martin even in 9th, it could work out. It could work out if you save enough. So Pierce now and Roberts and Sasek, Hardy, all of them, they're committed to this strategy where they have to go hard now because the hand has been shown. Unless we get a caution right now, the chips are down. Everybody's backed into their corner. This is the strategy they are going with, and either it'll work or it won't. And right now, everybody's kind of sweating because they're trying to think, is this going to work? Is this the strategy that's going to be the one that wins? Am I in trouble? It's going to be a tough call to make, but Pierce right now in control. This is the furthest ahead he's been all day. Roberts really struggling with that lap traffic, not able to negotiate it in the way that James Pierce has. Could be saving a little bit of fuel as well to try and get the upper hand on Pierce. There's a lot of unknowns, a whole lot of variables, and right now it's anybody's guess because we've got about 35 laps to go. This thing is not over.
Not over yet, but those laps do tend to pass by rather quickly before you know it. So that was 25 laps. That, let me do the math. 25 times 1.5. Brain. Nope, I don't got it.
No help from me. I almost failed my calculus class. So
that's fair. I think that's about like.
There's smart people in the chat. We'll know in a minute.
That is 31 miles to go.
No,
41 miles.
I think 40 is closer, but. Listen, we're commentators. We watch cars go in circles. We don't know how to count.
Yeah,
but what I can count.
It's what happens when you get a bunch of dumb girls up in the broadcast chat. But
what I can count is that there are 12 cars on the lead lap. Still, Lilac Zier is currently barely hanging on over James Pierce, who is slowly but surely closing that gap. Not unexpected. There you see Pierce way in the distance. There actually, somebody might have just caught the wall in front of Zier on the way in there. Might have been a little bit of lag, but there is Hayward. That is Kruger in the red, and then Zier in there, and Carmen Hardy in the pit lane. So this is another round of pit stops happening right in front of our eyes. So, ooh, that's going to be tough because they extended about 11 or 12 laps the last time around. 22 to go. I think it's, I don't know that that's quite enough unless Hardy's making a very early pit stop, but now McBride's in. I wonder how this is going to go. I think these drivers might be splitting the stints because they know they have to pit, but I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes for them. Because now all bets are off. You don't know what's going on. You're committed to your strategy. Some people are going to pit early. Some people are going to run it dry. Some people are going to try to stay out. There's so many variables here that we don't really know is going to happen. But it's looking like it looks like it could be very possible here for these drivers. What's critical here for James Pierce is that he catches and passes those 3 cars in front, because if he can't do that, they're going to have that upper hand. They're going to have the advantage, and they're going to be passed ahead of him. He's going to be screaming out of the pit lane to try to pass them all, and it's going to be a pretty good deal for him to try and get there, but it's going to be tough.
And what we're seeing as well is, as I've seen in a lot of oval races like this, open wheel or otherwise, is towards the back half of the race, you start seeing the drivers smarten up and stop making mistakes that bring out the yellow flag. And we haven't seen a yellow flag in quite a while now. So some of these drivers may have been banking on a yellow flag coming out and benefiting from that, but it doesn't look... look, I don't want to jinx it, but it doesn't look like we're likely to have another yellow flag until for the rest of the race.
Yeah, well, look at this here too.
So spread out.
Look at this here too. You look at the relative box on the bottom right. James Pierce in between 2 cars that have outdone the strategy here. Lap 79, lap 78. Pierce came in on 72. We look just a touch ahead here. Look at the deal with Kruger, Hayward, Zier. 81 is when these drivers came in, so they went even further than this, and they're still holding a nice gap. You've got Hardy now, who's pit on 97, so it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be real tough for them to make this, but I am so invested in this battle because it is gonna be very tight. You even have people like Zier and Flores. They're not sure that they can even make it, but you got people up here like Kruger and Hayward who really took the strategy and applied it to the book. So you also have this situation where they don't want to go a lap down, because if a caution comes out, then they're really in trouble. So Zier, Kruger, Hayward, they're about to have to turn on the afterburners, but they know that Pierce has to make another pit stop here. And time's starting to run out. We saw them stay out 10 laps later than Pierce, so I would expect that Pierce is going to come in probably around 13 to go, 11 to go. Then it's going to be on, because he has almost a full lap on these cars. He's going to come into the pit lane. He's probably saving fuel right now, actually, behind this group to try and extend as much as he can, to try and not have to take as much fuel in the pit lane. Gonna pop back out. Doesn't have to think about Bren Roberts, because there's Bren way in the background. He is quite a ways off of James Pierce. So there's so much going on right now, and we're all passengers, and it's going to be fun to see. Alex Martin now into the pit lane. He has not been able to make it any further. The 11 car is in for Agent Inc. Racing. We'll see. Now this is going to start kicking things off. So, ooh. And in the chat from Signon, if you screw up your fuel mileage, does it become full mileage? Absolutely. And now in the background there is I think that's Elias Flores, who looked like he was coming in for just a moment. Looks like he's going to stay out. Bajan is in the pit lane now as well in the 66, so she couldn't hang on any longer. Now we're 13 laps to go. We'll see what happens here. When does Pierce blink? If you're Bren Roberts, you're racing with James Pierce. Do you pit early now, get the fresh tires, and try to get that undercut on James Pierce? Why not? You have so much distance back to Eli Sasek. Why not go for that move? You have enough time to go ahead and try it.
Yeah, we have been, as you've been talking about, this is a strategy race right at the end here. Like it was at Dover.
Sasek's
pure
in.
Strategy at this point. Here comes Eli Sasek into the pits now. Dropping like flies one by one.
Yeah, Hernandez is in,
Robinson's
in. Yeah, so these are the drivers that did not save fuel. I expect Pierce to stay out another lap or two because he did beforehand, but he's not going to have enough. If he has saved enough over this stint, I would be thoroughly surprised. Grosso in the pit lane now, and now you see everybody starting to shuffle around, and here comes Roberts. He is going to try the undercut. I like this strategy for Bren. He comes in, gets it short fuel, gets some fresh tires. James Pierce is going to have to react to this if he thinks he's going to have a shot here. And look at them, they're fighting up here. This is Callie, and into the pit lane now comes James. Yeah, he has to respond to that because he has to defend against Bren Roberts, because everybody on your screen that we just saw is racing for the win. It's not just for second. Pierce can still win this race, but he has to be smart about it. Into the box now. We're expecting everybody in front to stay out to the end. They're going to let Callie go because Callie had to pit, so she's going to go ahead. She is not racing for position. She's a lap down. She's going to go to the inside now. Where is Hayward at? There is Hayward right in front. Here's Pierce coming into his box now. Keep an eye on this. This is where the battle for the race lead is going to be. Into the box here. Take a look. There they go. There they go right now. They're by. It's not even close. Out of the pit lane now for Pierce, but all the way down in turn 1 and 2 is Hayward with only 10 laps to go. He gets to go full beans, but it's not going to be easy. Where is Bren Roberts? Coming down the front straightaway now, making a move on Lily Peltier-Sharp for position, so I think Pierce is going to hang on to that one. Oh, it's really kicking off now, Hoot.
This is going to be huge. 10 laps to go. Olivia Hayward in the lead. Emma Kruger and Lilac Zier. Lilac hoping to get a podium after getting that win on Dover. That would be huge to once again back up that fantastic strategy call at Dover with yet another fantastic strategy call here at Homestead-Miami. But Emma Kruger and Olivia Hayward, huge gainers here. And
keep this one in mind too. They're all racing each other still. They're teammates for now. They're helping each other try to survive this. Wait until that white flag flies. No chance. They're all going to be racing each other as hard as they can. We're going to go ahead and pull up this battle box here. Looking for 5th place. Looking for 5th place of James Pierce here. If we can see if we can pull that up.
Working on it.
Working on it, as is James Pierce as he tries to work his way through the field. No, I don't think it's going to work, unfortunately. But we'll see, though, once he gets into this group here. Because, look, Pierce is gaining. Now they're starting to race each other with 7 to go for 2nd. Pierce is coming out of turn 4 and gaining quickly. Gonna catch up to Elias Flores here in not too much time. Look at how quickly that gap is shrinking. 1.2, 1.3. It is not a very big gap. Hayward has never won in Champ Car competition. She's finished 2nd 3 times. She has been absolutely on fire all week. All the last couple weeks. She's going to have to hold off 2 of the best in the business. One of the best in the business on strategy and one of the best in the business in racing. To the inside now is Josh Grosso in the 32. Hayward defensive on Grosso. Of course, going to give the lane to the 32 who is pushing on full beans now. It is Pierce out of turn number 2. Who is not looking like he's got enough in the tank to get there, but the gap is closing. Here's an attempt here from Kruger on the lead. That faster car is going to affect Hayward, but also going to give her a little bit more fuel. 5 laps of racing to go. You know what? We don't even need to have that relative up. I just realized what we can do. We're just going to put the top 5 up. Watch the gaps close. Pierce 4.4 back and gaining on the field. 4 laps to go this time by. You're watching that red car and that purple car. This is the battle for the lead with these 2 on screen right now. It's Kruger and it's Hayward. In the back is Lilac Zier. If something happens to these 2, Hayward and Kruger, Kruger's going to try and go for it.
Going on the inside, Emma Kruger is going to try and take the lead away and
has done it.
Olivia Hayward
crossover
now currently in 2nd place. Gonna get the crossover. We've seen this multiple times with James Pierce and Bren Roberts, but now it's Emma Kruger and Olivia Hayward pulling back the favor.
She couldn't hold it down there.
Moves. Couldn't hold it down. Those old tires paying dividends now at the worst stage of the game. 3 laps to go now. Olivia Hayward going to try and make the move stick once again on the inside line. Going to be careful not to touch the apron or the seam to get that car loose. Going to stay on the inside for now, though.
She wants it so bad.
And right in behind is Lilac Zier watching this all unfold in front of her. Emma Kruger going to go down the bottom lane, try and sweep that dirty air over the nose of Olivia Hayward, and that drops the time back significantly. The distance between those cars just widening as now Olivia Hayward is under attack from Lilac Zier with 2 laps to go.
Yeah, Pierce is not going to get there. He's going to get up to 4th, but he's not even going to get onto the podium unless there's a crash here between 2 of these drivers. Kruger waited as long as she could. She timed it perfect, and it looks like it's going to win her this race because she is 7/10 and clear and gaining on Hayward. It's all Kruger. Hayward looked in the perfect position. They're 3 wide down the front straightaway. She might fall off the 2nd step of the podium here as we are 1 lap to go here through the final couple of corners. It looks like it's going to be Emma Kruger's day. The number 70 has been on fire, and Zier has taken 2nd. So Hayward going to hang on for the podium, it looks like, unless something huge happens. But through 3 and 4, Kruger waited until the last couple of laps. A spin early on, 2 spins. She comes back, spin and win. Emma Kruger gets it at Homestead. good. Zier second, Hayward third, and how about that for a fuel strategy race? James Pierce only good enough for fourth, Roberts in fifth. They're going to be thinking what could have been after leading all race long. Strategy wins again, as it has all season. What a brilliant finish to that race.
Wow. That is the war of the minds there. We've been seeing, you know, all through the race, we had some excited racing. Ooh, and a little bit of a mistake from Lily Peltier-Sharp having that wheel flying off there. But
yeah, this looks like a last corner deal here. Sharp sends it in on Hernandez.
Oh, going wide.
Oh, she just gets a little loose. I wonder. Oh, Oh, I'm not. That's a bit clumsy.
That was really strange. I don't know how to comment on that.
Yeah, let's see if we could have another look at that one. That looked very odd.
Maybe look at the onboard. I want to see those wheel inputs, because that was a really weird incident. I don't know if that was just really bad tires crossing a seam or what.
Well, Sharp was gaining at a high rate of speed to Hernandez, so I'm trying to find here, because everybody was pitting here.
Oh, okay, we got an admission in chat. Yeah, trying to side draft, got a little too eager on it. That kind of thing happens, but yeah, Olivia Hayward in chat as well, very excited, saying we hustle them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would say so. You know, you had everybody fooled thinking you had a full house, but not. You lay the cards down, royal flush.
Yeah, I am pleasantly surprised. That was an incredible battle for the win there. A race that we didn't expect to be that good, and here's another look at it here. I think this is coming to the white flag, so this is how bad that battling was going between these two. They were going at it. This is at the white. Peltier-Sharp on the top, Hernandez on the bottom. We didn't talk about Hernandez much. He was actually the fastest of all drivers in the speed trap today. A 7th place, a good run for the rookie, who seems to be finding his footing more and more every week on these ovals. And let's see, here's the dive. A nice slider. This is fair, this is clean. But this here dips down, tries to come back up, and just kind of hooks him, but doesn't really hurt him. It only hurts her. So I guess Gear Cat's checkbook gonna open up a little bit more, but she gets across the line, didn't lose any more positions than that, so it could have been worse.
Yeah.
But
yeah, just an unfortunate situation, and just being a little too aggressive on that side draft, coming out of the corner a little too low to make it really work in time. But that being said, though,
this is the move for the win. By the way,
an incredible move from Emma Kruger on the inside, just straight down, keeping it down. Olivia Hayward trying to get into that draft, out of the corner exit, trying to make it work. But one thing that we didn't see from Olivia Hayward that we saw from James Pierce and Bren Roberts was just how long either driver stayed in that draft until trying to make that pass. We saw a couple times here and there Olivia poking the nose out, not getting the full effect of that draft, and then not being able to keep it stuck on the inside like we had seen before from other drivers. But still, regardless, while it's not a win, it is certainly a podium, and the same can be said for all three of our drivers on the podium. Emma Kruger coming out on top, Lilac Zier once again having a fantastic strategy call and getting 2nd place to back up the awesome strategy seen at Dover, and then Olivia Hayward in 3rd place. So, Christina, shall we see if we can interview some of our drivers?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's work our way from the podium up from 3rd back. We'll speak to Hayward first here after a good run. Olivia, this is Christina in the ABN booth with Strix. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got a copy.
Well then, it looked like you were pretty fast, had a good top 5 car, fell off a little early, thought maybe you were saving. Had that route of pit stops, knew for sure you were saving. Was that a plan from the drop of the green flag on the restart, or was that something that kind of developed as the run went on?
So, when the caution came out on like lap 29, I knew it was a 2-stop race from there. But then when we immediately had a caution at like 35 on the restart, I was like, this is 1 stop if I pit here. But it's no point me so far down the field. Do I trust these drivers to keep this green for 80 laps? Apparently the answer is yes, and apparently it worked.
Well, you had an excellent effort today. You were so close to that first career victory as well at ABN in
How
Champ
many
Car
times
competition.
you've been saying that to me?
I know, it's a shame that it wasn't to be today, but another solid podium, a third place instead of a second. I guess that's got to feel pretty good too, right? But you, Kruger, and Zier all raced long in that final stint, absolutely skunking Pearson Roberts on the strategy. We've seen it in Dover. We see it again. It's got to feel good to win, well, it feels like a win, I'm sure, to get the podium like that. It feels good to upset on a strategy, but what does it mean to you three? Were you communicating with each other through this race, or is this just something you all picked up on?
I mean, I think there was like a knowing nod. I think everyone, all three of us knew what the situation was. Lila dropped back quite early in that final run because she pit 2 laps early. And so she needed the draft to save. I ended up in the lead because of that and worked out that was just about good to make it. But the only problem is it didn't give me a chance to break away. And so by the time I was into map 1, so was Emma. And Emma just had me in the race and in the final laps. But it's actually funny, just a little bit of insight. Like in the pace laps, Pierce actually said, "Don't want to get Lilac again." So I'm guessing he's not too thrilled about how this race finished.
Yeah, it was a great effort from him. I don't know if you saw him and Roberts were just going at it all night long.
I saw it on like my standings overlays, and I was very happy to see it. It told me that they were not trying to play fuel games. I was trying to play it from the start after that first caution. It made it so like 40 laps was just about doable. And so I worked out it could be 2 stops from there after the caution. And so I was playing for it, and then the first caution interrupted that, but then obviously the second caution interrupted that, but the third one then threw it back into play again.
So I wanted to ask you as well, though, here you're sitting in a situation where we came into this race not expecting a whole lot from it. We thought it would be kind of like Nashville. Some people were saying it was worse than Nashville. In some cases, the worst they had ever driven. We saw a lot of racing once we got to green flag. What was it that helped with that? Was it the banking? Was it weight jacker, AR bars? What was the key to being able to actually pass here, unlike what we saw at Nashville?
I think it just wasn't quite as dramatic. It was like fairly close, but it was enough where a car ahead, let's say 2 cars ahead, they might interrupt the car ahead of you and give you an opportunity. And also, I think everyone was playing strategy games, whether it was the fuel mileage or trying to manage tires. I know that Pierce and Roberts were communicating the whole race, or like at least in the opening phase, to try and pull away. They were trying to swap drafting or something. So everyone was playing it a bit differently, and I think that is why some of the racing was there, because there's that difference in process. And so I mean, you know how much I love strategy races. It's my favorite thing. So anytime there's a good strategy race, I'm happy, and I think that might be what it was today.
Well, you've been on fire all week. Doesn't matter what you've been behind the wheel of. You've either gone out and got a top 5 or you dang near won it. So to be up 7 positions from your starting position, it was a tough qualifying. It was tough trying to get to grips with the handling of this car. But to be on P3, to completely steal the race away from the fastest cars on outright pace, you've done a fantastic job. If there's anybody you want to thank, feel free to shout out now. The floor is yours.
Yeah, shout out to Prismatic, sponsors, Certverse, Go for the Gap, Slant Computers, Agent Inc., ABN. Getting deja vu saying all of that. I feel like I was just here just yesterday. Obviously, it's awesome being able to share a podium with such amazing people again. Emma once again leading it, and Liat, a very good friend. And yeah, special shout out today to you, because I mean, look at me. Look at that helmet, it's amazing. And the car as well. You worked out for me real quick. So I had to christen a new chassis tonight, and good way to start it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it is great to see you again. You sweep the podiums here for the week with that P3 and P3. So a couple of bronzes to go on your shelf this week. It's been a busy...
Along with all of the silvers.
And all the silvers and all the golds from officials as well. So keep that one in mind. It's been an excellent run for you. But your time will come. You've done a fantastic job. P3, congratulations, Livia. Enjoy it.
Thank you.
Gonna go ahead and move on here to Lilac Zier. Strix, feel free to take this one if you'd like. She is our P2
Absolutely.
finisher. Strategy plays again. Lilac, this is Strix and Christina in the ABN booth. You got a copy?
Hey, hi.
Howdy. Now, I think we talked once before. I think it was Dover or something like that, where I said you had a great strategy, and you were just like, oh, no, I just kind of raced. I think this kind of confirms it. You have a mind for strategy, wouldn't you say?
Well, it turns out it seems like Indy cars go to the end more than NASCARs, and fuel mileage actually helps me in these cars, whereas it doesn't always work out that way in NASCAR.
Now, yeah, and we heard from Olivia that James Pierce and Bren Roberts, who were leading most of this race, were communicating with each other while the top three drivers here, you, Olivia Hayward and Emma Kruger, kind of just nodded to each other like you kind of knew you were on the same strategy. Do you feel as though you might have had an edge on them as time was starting to run slim? Or do you feel like there might have been a little bit more in the car?
Honestly, I just think that because I was in the back, I had to play strategy, and they were at the front. They were probably thinking, there's no way this goes green at the end. And so they went for it to try to go fast. And it almost worked, to be honest, because James came out right behind us after his pit stop, which, to be fourth on an extra pit stop is really impressive. So, I mean, both strategies had their merits. It just turned out the fuel saving worked better today.
Yeah, and you did mention as well that with these cars, you did mention that fuel mileage is a little bit easier to manage compared to stock cars, but you do find yourself on the podium once again just due on pure strategy. Are there any other races on this schedule where you think your mind, when it comes to strategy, comes to fuel mileage and tire wear and all that, where you're going to find yourself benefiting tremendously from that kind of mind, from that kind of mindset?
I'm trying to remember what the schedule is, honestly. The ovals are obviously where I can most make that work the best. I don't have the speed on the road courses to make a strategy play and win or get a podium. I can gain a spot or two, but
all right, so let's say Richmond on January 19th. We go to the Miami road course in about a week, but 2 weeks from now we go to Richmond. How do you feel about that? I imagine you're probably looking ahead to that one now, given that it's Richmond. It's another shorter oval like this one, and you could benefit from another strategy call.
Oh, I love Richmond. It's a great track for all kinds of cars. And I did an open race there last week, and it was, even with my setup being terrible, I had fun. So I'm sure once everyone is on the same setup, I'll have even more fun. And then, Miami road course should be interesting because we actually use about 2/3 of the oval, but we also use the infield. So that's always fun. Laguna Seca is great. I'll probably crash, but it'll be great. And Indianapolis, I'm sorry, I can't say the words now. Redacted Rectangle Motor Speedway at the end of the season will be great.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one to watch. Now, are there any people, organizations, sponsors you want to thank? Sitting here on the second spot on the podium, having a great, an amazing, intelligent race today.
Well, I want to thank my teammate Callie because she did a great job. The strategy didn't go her way, but she was actually ahead of me for a lot of the race, and she was driving pretty good. And she was concerned before the race because she didn't get enough practice either, and she worked it out and made it work. And thanks to Prismatic because they're cool too, even though I'm not officially as one of their cars right now, but they're great. Shout out to Emma and Gear Cats. Dang it, she beat me on an oval. Now I can't gain points. Oh well. It was amazing that she came back from early trouble to win the race. So Olivia did a great job too. She was actually, I thought she was gonna win, but once you're out front, you're a sitting duck sometimes at the end.
Awesome. Now, thank you very much, Lilac. Enjoy your second position to back up your fantastic strategy call at Dover, and I hope you have a good evening to celebrate.
Thank you.
Well, it worked out for her. I guess I want to point out again, remember, Bajent Judd competition unloaded the cars off the trailer at the end of qualifying. They both had about 1 lap apiece and had to get up to pace to finish second after all that. Biggest mover today as well. 16 positions from where she started, Lilac Zier. Incredible effort from her.
See, those were both points that I was going to bring up, and then I started doing the interview and my brain farted. So I think I'm just going to write some, grab a notepad and pen next time.
It is totally fine. After a race like that, it's hard to try and keep track of everything that was happening, but somebody...
It was just so exciting!
Somebody who is both excited and is pretty well aware of everything that's happened is our race winner, Emma Kruger. We're going to speak to her now. Emma, this is Christina and Strix in the ABN booth. Do you have a copy?
Yeah, I hear you.
Well, you went to Britain, got a win there, leave, come here, get a win again. Are you going to stop winning anytime soon, or is this more par for course for Gear Cats?
I mean, I hope not. I hope I don't stop winning. It only took me a few thousand miles of traveling, but yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm in shock right now. I have no idea how I managed to make that happen literally like 18th at the end of the first restart.
Was it something... Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to pop in because that was one thing that you can't forget is you had some trouble through turns 3 and 4 getting on that seam, getting the car loose, and at one point you had the car, all 4 wheels up in the air, spun it, and you're still on the top of the podium. Like that... I can imagine that you wouldn't you'd be in shock. Like someone else goes into that kind of experience, you'd almost think your race was done for.
Yeah, I did a Marcus Ericsson there. I mean, the same thing happened at Silverstone as well. I got hit twice and had a third spin. And I still came back to win. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm also 99% sure that jump destroyed the floor of the car, and I had to deal with it the entire race. I could tell there was a little bit more understeer, but I don't know. I made it work.
I want to ask you, sitting there on those final laps, trying to save just enough fuel, when did you know was the right time to try to make the move on Olivia? And were you planning that for a while, or was that kind of an opportunity that just opened up for you in the closing laps?
For a while, I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just thinking about making it to the end. But then I overthought it so hard that I was like, what am I doing? I'm 3 laps to the good. And with 5 laps to go, I turned the engine back up. And I knew that she tried to pull away and probably burned up her tires doing that. So I tried using what I had to get around, and it worked.
Yeah, definitely worked. Of course, Gear Cats on the podium once again. You've got another victory, some more hardware to take back home. I gotta ask you now again, another dub here on an oval, a place where you're starting to get more and more familiar. It seems to have usually been a place where you had a weak point. Starting to figure things out, playing the strategy. I want to ask you real quick, when you were flying through the air, that took you out of the lead fight where initially it seemed like you were just going full beans like the rest of them. Did that mistake save your race because it put you on the back foot and made you think harder about strategy, or was that something you had planned to try to do since the very beginning?
Well, it was in the back of my mind, but then at the first restart, Lily was like, why don't we top off and try to save? And I'm like, damn, I'm in. And then I did some really bad calculations with my calculator app. Just under safety car, don't do that at home. Always keep your eyes on the road. But yeah, I calculated the numbers, and I'm like, I just wanted to try and see if I can make it work, and it happens. So
Well, you've done an excellent job. It's another win for Belgium, another win for Gearcats, another win for Mercedes. We have some fun races coming up, some road courses. Like this road course here is going to be a fun one. We expect you to be competitive there. Your 5th win in Champ Car competition. You've jumped me, and you've moved your way up. You're looking at James Pierce now for the winningest driver. Moving forward, though, you've got the win tonight. That's what matters right now. Anybody you want to thank, anybody you want to shout out, the floor is yours, Emma. Congratulations.
Thanks to Lily for the strategy idea. Normally it's something I talk about with Oh Hey before the race, but I guess she got tired of me winning, so and yeah, thanks to my other teammates Ben and Rudy. I mean, you didn't really contribute to this one all that much, but your support means the world. Thanks to everyone in chat that supported me throughout the race. And sorry, I'm distracted. I'm reading chat. Shout out Open Medicine Foundation. Thanks to Christina and Strix for commentating. You guys do an amazing job, by the way. I watch the broadcast every time.
Woo-woo.
And thanks to Carmen for putting on the show and deciding to broadcast tonight. Hopefully we don't get DMCA takedown. Fingers crossed.
If we do, it was worth it, and we'll always have it on a hard drive somewhere. Wink, wink. Yeah, huge congratulations, Emma. It's another big win for you, taking that momentum forward. It's been an excellent week for you in ABN competition, so kick back, relax, enjoy, and we'll see you next week. Congrats.
Thanks, and Tuesday never happened, by the way.
So that is Emma Kruger, who brings it home with the win. And I want to note something else, another interesting factoid, Strix. Once again, 3 different nations on the podium: Belgium, America, and Great Britain. So we love facts, we love stats. We got a couple of those tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And having that diverse cast of drivers on the podium, as well as a triple podium of women in the Champ Car Series here once again. You love to see it. I mean, it's just really nice to be in an esport where it's not just a certain group or demographic. You got a whole bunch of people from all over the world, across the gender spectrum, competing and doing the absolute best they can to throw down the best that they can. And you love to see it. And honestly, at this race, so fun to watch. I'm starting to fall in love with oval racing even more than I already did.
Yeah, it is a lethal drug, and honestly, we were treated to an absolute barn buster. We weren't really supposed to have that good of a race today from what things had looked like. Here's a final look, by the way, at those finishing order for round 6 of the ABN Champ Car preseason. Emma Kruger over Lilac Zier by about a second, some change. Olivia Hayward just a touch behind. They have outsmarted everyone tonight and sweep the podium in the closing stages here at Homestead. Can't say enough about James Pierce and Bren Roberts' battles back and forth all night long. Wasn't meant to be for either of them, though. Carmen Hardy with a broken foot, P6, after a struggle of a night, up 8 positions from where she qualified. Very underrated drive from her. Another underrated drive from Angel Hernandez as he finds his footing in the TMJ Motorsports machine. Put it in 7th. A great run from him. Good recovery from Lily Pelletier-Sharp. Had that crash with Hernandez across the line, but recovered from a crash out of turn 4. Looked like her day might have been done. Also, keep in mind, Lilac Zier was punting someone down the straightaway with nowhere to go. T-boned into Josh Grosso. She ends up on the podium. So a lot of cars having good rebounds today. And, of course, Kruger flying through the air earlier on. Eli Sasek in 9th. Wasn't meant to be for the Ascent Racing team, but it was a good effort from Sasek. He ran in the top 5 for the majority of the day. Mike Robinson for Arrowhead Racing on debut with a 10th place finish. Excellent job from him in the 26th. Callie Bajent was one of those drivers, of course, for Bajent Judd competition who kind of just unloaded last second, showed up, and ended up having a really, really good run. And the number 66 machine, teammate on the podium and just outside the top 10 for Callie, but that's a pretty good result for her. Josh Grosso, again, we mentioned, one of the other people with a few starts, 32, finished 12 for TMJ, so another good effort there. Angel Hernandez's teammate. Alex Martin had a good run going. Unfortunately, bad luck once again strikes the Agent Inc. driver. Only 13th was on the cards. Same for Elias Flores. Had a good going for Ascent, but couldn't quite connect it. Cliff Mullins in 15th, 1 lap down for the 37. He had his own issues today, but was running up in the top 10 for a bit. Zach McBride, likewise, up in the front. Had a fight for the lead at one point, but just wasn't meant to be. Fuel and tires were the crux. Doug South, the only real retirement from crash damage tonight when that crash out of turn 4 happened. Netcode unfortunately takes the Australian out of the event. It's a shame because he was doing quite nicely indeed. And Judith Cooper pulling over for medical reasons. Again, wishes with her. She seems that she's feeling okay, more of a precaution than an emergency, and glad we can say that it was not an emergency. Car number 4 was in and flirting with the top 5 for the most of her run today. It's a shame she couldn't finish, but that will do it for the 18 cars. A great effort from all of them. Congrats again to Kruger, Zier, and Hayward. And Strix, what's the takeaway for you headed into the next round?
More strategy, please. I love this. It makes me feel smart when I see things happen and other people are doing smart things. I don't know why I feel smart, but it's just kind of like I notice a thing and I'm like, ooh, you did a smart thing. I'm smart for noticing you did a smart thing. Not only that, but it also generates some of the most interesting racing because we've seen drivers, you know, like Pierce and Bren Roberts fighting with each other the whole time. And I was thinking that whole time, like, something's gotta give. Of course, they were working with each other, like I was mentioning, you know, getting that fuel mileage, sharing the draft, so to speak, but it just wasn't meant to be with the other drivers making a huge overcut and saving tremendously to try and benefit from that call, and it was a great call. And I love this. I love watching those strategies play out, especially towards the final 10 laps of the race, because that's where it gets really down to the wire. More, please, more.
I couldn't say it any better. And of course, you thought the oval race here was fun. Wait until we come back next week on the road course here, the Roval at Miami. Always an entertaining one. Of course, we raced supercars there for Court not too long ago, and that was a spicy meatball for sure. Thank you all so much for joining us. It is going to be Kruger once again on top. But we can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. From Strix Pulsatrix, I'm Christina Ryan. All of our friends at ABN, we're so glad we can bring these races back to you. Have a great night and stay safe.